A very good afternoon, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time out and joining us for the 43rd Annual General Meeting of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry held for the first time on this very unique three-dimensional platform. My name is Priyank Prakash, and on behalf of the Chamber, I'm pleased to be the Master of Ceremony for today's program. And now, to mark the beginning of IFCCI's 43rd AGM, I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Sumit Anand, President of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry and founder of Insight, to share the welcome remarks.
Thank you very much, Priyank. Her Excellency, Madame Sonia Barbary, Consul General of France in Mumbai, Her Excellency, Madame Dr. Marjorie S. Van Bellingham, Consul General of France in Bangalore, our distinguished speakers from France and India, a great list today, Mr. Hemant Kanodia, Chairman of SHRAI, Mr. Dinesh Kumar Khara, Managing Director, State Bank of India, Mr. Fatih Jerfel, Deputy CEO of Amundi, Ms. Namita Shah, President, People and Social Responsibility at Total, Mr. Jérôme Rodriguez, CEO of AREMO France, Mr. Alain Papias, Chairman, Corporate and Institutional Banking, BNP Paribas, Mr. Laurent Follop, Commercial and Marketing Director, Haropa Ports, Mr. Marc Pasquet, President Michelin, Africa, India and Middle East, Mr. Jean-Marc Boudin, Senior Vice President, Middle East, Africa and India, Thales, Mr. Anil Chaudhary, our friend, Country President and MD, Schneider Electric India, Nirav Nanavati, CEO and Country Manager, NG, our special moderator for today, my dear friend and senior journalist and media entrepreneur, Govind Rajathiraj, dear members and guests. I am pleased to welcome you all to the 43rd Annual General Meeting of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Chambre de Commerce d'Industrie, France and. We are in a virtual format today, as our world has come unsettled these past 6 months due to the deadly pandemic of COVID-19. I hope that you and your dear ones at home and at work and at home and at work are safe and healthy. Sadly, we all know of loved ones who've lost their lives due to COVID-19. Therefore, before we go any further, I would request all of us to observe 10 seconds of silence to pay our respect to them. Thank you. We're currently facing a second surge in both France and India, and so we need to stay cautious and follow the health guidelines. Yet while we stay cautious and healthy, we also need to be active. In order to serve our societies at large, we need to build our businesses back and get our economies, both Indian and French, on track for a brighter future. In the short term, April 20 to March 21, India is facing its first recession ever. Yet since the severe lockdown in the quarter of April to June, we are seeing steady month-on-month demand recovery, and we should be at pre-COVID levels by the quarter of Jan to March 2021. And at the same time, we're discovering new business opportunities in India, backed by tech, such as e-commerce, edtech, and fintech, to name just a few. And others are emerging from supply chain shifts in sectors such as pharma and chemicals, electronics and technology services. Starting from April next year, we should see a strong rebound in consumption, and India will return to its fast-growing economy status. In my personal view, the upcoming decade, 2020-2030, will still be India's best decade ever in terms of new market opportunities for our businesses, given that the fundamental drivers of the Indian economy remain strong and India is well aligned to benefit from the global shifts. We will talk about these subjects through the AGM today. Today's annual general meeting is very special and exciting. While some of us miss the format of our grand evening held at the Sofitel in Mumbai with champagne, food, and some good social interaction, we are hopeful that you will find today's AGM richer, inclusive, and more insightful. We have an address by our honorary patron, His Excellency Ambassador Emmanuel Lenard. We have outstanding speakers from top leadership of groups from France and India, and the largest audience ever at an AGM, close to 600 registered. And all of this in this fabulous new 3D format. At this point, I'd like to thank the entire IFCCI team, led by our Director General, Mrs. Payal S. Kanwar, and our regional directors, Bruno Broncard and Johan Samuel, and events manager, Tracy Fernandez, for taking on the challenge and working very hard to organize this special and unique AGM. I'd also like to thank our governing council members, as well as our executive committee members, our 5 vice presidents, Emmanuel de Roquefort, Emeric de Renyes, Ravin Mirchandani, Elisa Ketty, and Joël Verani, and our treasurer, Francesca de Cuper, for their involvement today at the annual general meeting, and most importantly, for their support and engagement to the chamber all through the year. At this AGM, we're starting a new tradition of defining a business topic as a theme. The 2020 theme defines the India opportunity today for all our businesses and lays a potential framework for Franco-Indo-French business relations. And here is the topic. Can India be a global market and a global hub for manufacturing for international groups and particularly French groups? The time to discuss this topic seems just right, as India marks nearly 30 years of reforms and continues to reform, as we have seen this past week with the key agri and labor reforms. As India has increasingly proven to be a key global market, a key hub for talent, and now a potential key hub for manufacturing for India and the world. And as France in the last 5 years has become the most attractive economy in Europe and is actively supporting its large, mid, and startup companies and entrepreneurs to compete and succeed internationally. And most importantly, as France and India, over these last 20 years of strategic partnership, have emerged as close friends who share common values and who want to partner for win-win solutions for their citizens and for a new world. Make in India, Fab France, Startup India, La French Tech, Atmanirbhar, Self-Reliant India, the French relaunch plan, just a few examples that represent many opportunities to collaborate and win together. We could conclude that the time is right to discuss such a theme, both despite COVID-19 and yet due to COVID-19. The AGM also marks the end of a year for the Chamber. In our case, from April 2019 to March 2020 as a financial year, and the end of the year of activity since our last AGM when we all met together, or some of us did in Bombay. 2019-20 was a very good year for the Indo-French Chamber. On the financial front, I'm pleased to share that revenues, surplus, and reserves all hit a new high. Compared to 5 years ago, IFCCI has grown its revenues by 80% and built a sustainable economic model, which is critical for a self-funded chamber. On the activities front, the number of events, members, committees, services, and clients are at a record high in 1920 and have grown significantly since the last 5 years. Big congratulations to all of you, members, clients, sponsors, and to our IFCCI team led by our dynamic Director General, Mrs. Payal Eskanvar, for this outstanding performance. A special thanks to His Excellency, Ambassador Emmanuel Lena, for his strong support to the Chamber, and a big thanks to all his team members, the SCR team led by Minister Councillor Daniel Maitre and his deputy Patrick Pillon, the Council Generals, Madame Sonia Barbary, Dr. Marjorie Van Bellingham, excuse me, Madame Catherine Suar, outgoing, Business France, now led by the Trade Commissioner Eric Fajol, AFD led by Bruno Ball, and the CCF led by our member and new president Pascal Risser. This is what we refer to as Team France in India. Our dynamic IFCCI team, a good financial base, and all your support has given the Chamber the strength to face a challenging COVID-19 year. The team transitioned very quickly and took the Chamber online, being available 24/7 to our members through the tough lockdown period and to attend to all their business issues. Knowledge webinars, advocacy platforms, and solutions committee engagements were all kicked off. The team worked hard to reduce costs, adjust priorities, and manage cash flows. While 2021 will not be a great year financially for IFCCI, as is the case for many chambers worldwide, IFCCI will emerge stronger with a new way of serving our members. Bravo again to the entire IFCCI team, led by Payal, our DG, the entire working committee, and in particular to Jyotsna Rao, National Accounts Manager, to our Treasurer, Francesca de Cuper, and our advisor, K. Ramachandar, for their commitment to manage our finances in this critical period. At last year's AGM, I had laid out 3 priorities for the upcoming 2-year period. The first was to go further as a chamber to serve our members, making our committee stronger, expanding our advocacy platforms, and building our services in the South. The second was to deepen our France-India links, work closely with His Excellency Ambassador Lena, the embassy and the consulates, led by their respective consul generals, and be an active member of Team France, strengthen our relations with the Indian government, and serve interests in France as well. And the third was to build visibility of Indo-French business and IFCCI in India and in France. I'm glad to report that your chamber is making steady progress on all these three priorities, and I hope that some of those are visible to you. We will continue to focus on these in the coming year. But if you allow, in addition to these three priorities, I'd like to add two more priorities for the chamber. Number 4, which is to develop data, knowledge, and insights to help accelerate trade and investment by French and Indian companies, to provide content to the conversation. And number 5, to articulate a 2025 vision for the chamber, laying out what impact we seek to have by then on French and Indian companies and trade and business relations. So a lot to do and a lot to look forward to for all of us. Before I end, I'd like to welcome the 10 new elected members of the Governing Council. We had a great number of candidates this year, and I'm so happy and excited by the quality of our Governing Council. We will be hosting our meeting next month, and there'll be 25 of us in that, and it can be surely very exciting. I look forward to working with you all, along with our IFCCI team and the Executive Committee, to build IFCCI further. With that, dear members, distinguished speakers and guests, I welcome you again for the 43rd AGM of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, CCI France, and I hope you enjoy this special evening. Priyank, back to you.
Thank you so much, Sumit, for the opening remarks. We'll now move on to a presentation of IFCCI's financials by Ms. Francesca Decuper, Head of Territory India at BNP Paribas.
You to the 43rd Annual General Meeting. Thank you really for your presence here today and for all your continued support and goodwill, which is important to the success of the Chamber. As we all know too well, we are in the midst of some unprecedented times. The entire world and India is grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic and the huge challenges it has thrown out. Governments across the world are working not only to curb the spread of the pandemic, but also to restore the business conditions and how to jumpstart the wheels of the economy. I am hereby to present you the financial reports of the Chamber for financial year 2019-2020, and the annual report for the year ended 31st of March 2020, along with the Governing Council members' reports and the audited financials of the Chamber have already been circulated to you. I request your kind permission to take them as read. The Chamber performed well in financial year 19-20. Consolidated income from operations amounted to INR 16.75 crore against expenses that were accounted for to 15.18 crore. Net profit stood at INR 1.58 crore. Out of the net profit, memberships and subscription margins accounted for 28%. Business support service margin was 50%, and margin from other incomes were 22%. We were on track in terms of revenue growth and profitability until February 2020, when the country began witnessing early signs of the pandemic. In a manner of speaking, financial year 2019-2020 ended abruptly, and at the same time, it became clear that financial year 2020-2021 would be a challenge. In these unprecedented times, we are looking at constructive ways and means of dealing with the situation, taking care of all our internal and external employees and members, and continuously focusing to overcome these challenges to the best of our capabilities. And before I conclude, on behalf of the Chamber of Governing Council members, I wish to thank all members, all clients, vendors, and partners for their trust and support. This motivation helps us to excel in all our pursuits and constant endeavor to create value for you. I would also like to thank warmly the entire IFCCI team for their agility, their energy, and their valuable contribution in steering the Chamber to greater levels of achievement and to set new benchmarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. I would now like to welcome the Director General of IFCCI, Mrs. Payal S. Kanwar, to share the election results with everyone.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. While the slide arrives, I would just like to inform you that each year IFCCI conducts the elections of its governing council as per the number of vacant seats, which is about 1/3 of the total number of members who retire by rotation. This year we had 10 vacant seats and 15 nomination. As a result of the online ballot count on the election buddy platform, which was conducted virtually this year, we wish to inform you that the following candidates have been elected as members of the Governing Council for the year 2021 for a term of 3 years. In alphabetical order, Mr. Alexis Telemaque, Chairman and Managing Director, Total Oil India. Mr. Émeric Derenies, Senior Country Officer, Crédit Agricole CIB. Mr. Benoît Lecuyer, Chief Executive Officer, Prysmian India. Mr. Emmanuel de Roquefeuille, VP and Country Director, Thales India. Mr. Joël Vérani, Vice President, Sales and Network, Citroën India. Mr. Mathieu Jouvillard, Chief Representative, Crédit Industriel et Commercial. Mr. Mohan Kumar, Executive Vice President, Michelin India. Ms. Payal Singh, Country Director, AGS Four Winds India. Mr. Rohit Markan, Managing Director, Rocket India. And finally, Mr. Thierry Laurent, Chief Financial Officer of L'Oréal India. Congratulations to you all. We look forward to working with you. On this note, if we could just move to the next slide. I would also like to take a moment to thank two very important senior members of the Governing Council, Mr. Dara Mehta, who is Partner Emeritus of Little & Company, and CS Pramod Shah of Pramod Shah and Associates. Dear Mr. Mehta, words would not be enough to thank you for all the support and guidance you have offered the Chamber over the past 30 years as member of the Governing Council, as well as a member of the Chamber. We really appreciate your support. Dear Mr. Shah, thank you very much for all the support and guidance that you had offered to the Chamber over the past 6 years as member of the Governing Council. We would like to thank you and your team of Pramod S. Shah and Associates for helping the IFCCI Secretariat for finalizing notices and documents in the past on an honorary basis. We thank you very much for your time and support. And lastly, we are very happy to propose to the both of you to be a part of IFCCI as permanent special invitees in the Governing Council. Thank you very much, and back to you, Priyank.
Thank you, Payal. I now invite Mr. Joël Vérani, who is the Vice President of IFCCI based out of Chennai, who is also the Chairman of the IFCCI Mobility Committee and also the Vice President of Sales and Network at Citroën India, to welcome our next speaker.
Thank you very much, Brian. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you our very own Ambassador to France in India, His Excellency, Mr. Emmanuel Lenain. Mr. Lenain has had a diplomatic career spanning for more than 2 decades that had him serving in France, the United States, China, and now in India since the past 1 year. Mr. Lenain has helped IFCCI tremendously since his arrival in India in his various initiatives and activities. We thank you for your continued support toward the Chamber, Mr. Ambassador, your team at the Embassy, at Consulates. Finally, I would like to give you a thanks for your support for IFCCI committees. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, but I don't have anything to add to these kind words. I think it's perfectly fine. No, seriously, I want first to congratulate the newcomers that have been elected, and I must say that it's a very good rule to elect 1/3 of a member every year. I think other organizations should take that as a model, and I think it also accounts for part of your dynamism, which is very recognized. Want also to thank your chairman, president, summit, and your DG Payal, I understand it's the first anniversary of the mandate of Summit, and I must say that I'm truly impressed by the dynamism, the good work, the action of the committees, and I must say that in two respects. I mean, first part of the year when I've been able to travel extensively to India, I've met some committees, been impressed by the ideas, the input in places like Chennai, for example, and very good meetings. But I must say that since COVID is with us and will obviously stay with us for a while, I've been very impressed by the capacity of IFCCI to adapt and to move to webinars, and which have always been of excellent quality. So thank you for all of that. Thank you for the good cooperation we've enjoyed. I mean, when I say we, the embassy, our consulate, Institut Français, Business France, all the partners. It's very important. It's great to have you and to achieve the common goals. As said, we know our priorities. We share our priorities. I discuss with Summit quite extensively and often. We want to be even more active, of course, to support French companies willing to develop in India. Personally, I'm very optimistic about the long-term prospect in India. I really think that there are huge opportunities and that our company shouldn't miss. I mean, the last few months have even made the future brighter for companies operating in digital or health sector. I'm not going to name all of this, but it's pretty obvious. We want also to be more active in supporting the companies by channeling Indian students who've been studying in France, to channel them to French companies in India if they want to employ them. As you know, I mean, this year is a bit tough for student exchanges, but it's not zero. It's not a blank year. We're going to end with a few thousand, which is quite a big performance. I mean, we've been the first country to work in the visa section, and that's very important because as next year we want to be back to where we were in 2019, and maybe up, with more than 10,000 students from India going to France. That's very important. So we'll do much more, and also the IFCCI will be very important to that. We feel that now that France is the most competitive country in Europe, we should attract some more investors from India to develop some activities. We have very good success stories in the last few months, but we could do much more. Obviously, some of these investors have to be found in London, but also in India. I think we have a huge role. Business France is doing a great job, but IFCCI also has to work with us. At the end of the year, by December, we should have a club for potential investors, and I'm sure IFCCI will take a big part into it, as it always does. And also, we will have an operation called Ambition India to explain the potential of the Indian market to the French companies. It take place on the December 1st in France. Maybe we don't know. I mean, maybe a physical meeting, or maybe online, or maybe a combination of both. But it's very important that we can have it. So thank you very much for inviting me. I'm looking forward now to the discussion, and thank you for the great job that you're all doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, Joel. I'm happy to now welcome our next speaker, who is a pioneer in the field of infrastructure and has helped reshape India's infrastructure landscape with innovative ideas and a strong passion for excellence. He conceptualized SREI in 1989 and marked the entry of the private sector in the field, a domain hitherto restricted to the public sector. In the last 2.5 decades, SREI has developed into one of India's largest integrated infrastructure institutions with an asset base of around US dollars 5.5 billion. I request Mr. Hemant Kanoria, Chairman of SREI Infrastructure Finance Limited, to share a few words on strengthening Indo-French relations in the new era. Over to you.
Thank you. His Excellency Ambassador of France, Mr. Sumit Anand, Mrs. Decopera, Mrs. Payal Kumar, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you. At the outset, I would like to thank the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to their 43rd AGM. I think that this is the first time they must be having the AGM through a virtual mode because everything has moved to the virtual platform. So it's a new world that we have got into. Pandemic has almost put a break in the entire development and slowed down the economic development of all the countries. As it is, last few years had been witnessing a slowdown, but pandemic COVID-19 has compounded that and made it slower now. Basically, all the leaders, global leaders now, what we see has put their attention to arresting the pandemic, focusing on the lives of people, health issues, and the economy has taken a setback, and which is absolutely in the right direction because the lives of people are more valuable, which needs to be addressed. Many of the countries, depending upon their economic resources, have been able to announce stimulus packages to see that the country does not slip down on their economic growth. And similarly, India has also done the same thing. Fortunately for us, we have had the opportunity of having joint ventures and partnership with very many of the French companies, starting from BNP Paribas. We had a joint venture with them on equipment financing business. Proparco, we are still having an investment from them. We have a joint venture with Veolia for the water. With Onji, we bought a power plant. With EDF, now we have got into power distribution with them. So therefore, we have had the opportunity of dealing with a large number of French companies and the largest companies out of France that we have had partnerships with them. And one thing which I must honestly confess, that working with French companies is always a pleasure because the French companies look for long-term partnerships. And similarly, that is the same culture that Indian companies have, that we want to have long-term partnerships. There would be ups and downs every time in the economy, in the businesses, but at the same time, partnership means that to be able to steer through the ups and downs in a concerted manner, finding out solutions, and that is what we have witnessed in working with all the French companies. At this particular juncture, as we see that many of the companies and European companies, American companies are all coming out of Indian companies who have invested in China. They are moving out and they are wanting to have a manufacturing base in countries where there is democracy, where there is the workforce which is available, and where the skilling of workforce is also much faster because there is willingness of the workforce to work towards their goals and objectives. So I think that this is the right time, and the topic which has been finalized by the Indo-French Chamber this time, can India become a global hub, both as a market and manufacturing? And I think that there is no doubt in it that India can definitely become the manufacturing hub for the French companies, not only to be in a position to tap the huge market which is in India, but also to be able to produce here and export out of India because of the skilled manpower which is available. Even the government has launched, the Indian government has launched many programs to attract investments from overseas companies, and especially in the manufacturing sector. And I think that this is the best time for French companies to come into India. There are a large number of industrial parks, special economic zones which has been set up, and where it would be very easy for French companies to come and set up their manufacturing plants. Many would be on a plug and play basis. So the companies who are coming in, they can immediately set up their plants in a very easy manner. And I think that this is something which we can take to the French companies, not only the larger ones, because we have seen in the past many decades that the large French companies have come and set up their manufacturing plants here, or they are doing business because of the close relationship between India and France. But where I would encourage are the medium sector companies who can also now tap into the Indian market, because they would see a huge growth opportunity, both for the domestic market and for exporting their goods outside India. So I think that that is where we should encourage more of the French companies, and we'll be very happy to see that how we can cooperate and help the French companies coming into India by providing them all the various infrastructure facilities, because that is something which is very important, the clearances and the infrastructure facilities. And that is where not only our company, but the government of India already has the organization which they have set up, which can also handhold companies who are coming into India and setting up their plant. Because I think India and France, they share a relationship which is enviable, because both on the defense side, we have recently seen that with the aircraft landing here, it was covered in the media everywhere. So that shows the strong relationship between and the reliance that India has on France, and also the International Solar Alliance, which was set up by the French government and the Indian government in 2015. This has been extremely successful, and many of the companies, many of the French companies and both Indian companies have been able to set up large solar capacities in India due to this International Solar Alliance which was set up. So now this is the right time for also the French companies to set up manufacturing base for even solar equipment, electrical vehicles in India, especially also going into the technology sector. The government has also opened up the space sector. That is another area where there could be a large number of cooperations. So overall, I feel that the relationship which has been fostered between India and France at the government level for the last so many decades, and the close relationship that India and France have had also at the level of the citizens and the people, because right from tourism to manufacturing to trading, so France has been a very strong partner. Unfortunately, the trade between the bilateral trade between India and France is just about $12 billion euros, which I think is relatively quite small depending upon the size of both France and India. And that is one area of focus, which I think that both the countries and the leaders should take it up upon themselves, at how this can be doubled and trebled in the next few years, which is very much possible. Because when we have my personal experience of working with the French companies has been that they believe in long-term relationships, and we go into the details. So therefore, we have had many of the successful ventures with them, and going forward, we are sure that we will be having more and more ventures with the French companies in this particular, in any area that we are embarking on. So I again wish the entire AGM and all the members all the best, and I'm sure that under the guidance of His Excellency the Ambassador, we will get more French companies coming into India, and I think that this is the best time for strengthening the Indo-French relationship. Thank you and all the best to everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Kanoria, for the good wishes to the Chamber. We'll now play a short video shared with us by SREI.
हम मानते हैं कि दुनिया को बेहतर बनाने के लिए जरूरी है एक सोच कि दुनिया बेहतरी के रंगों से निखर सकती है। एक सोच कि अच्छाई के रंग हम सब पर खिलते हैं। एक सोच कि ये रंग जब फैलेंगे तो खुद में खुशियां समेट लाएंगे। और इन्हीं बदलाव के रंगों को हम आपसे शेयर करते हैं। उस सोच के साथ जो जाती है हैप्पी रेनबो बॉक्स में।
On the activities of IFCCI, along with an overview of the chamber.
Thank you very much, Priyank. I hope I'm audible. So firstly, I would just like to inform all of our viewers that you can expand your screen by clicking on the bottom right, in which way you will have the screen in full mode. Thank you very much. I would now like to present our activities for the last financial year. So as you may know, we are a part of a global network under the umbrella of the CCI France International. Today, the CCI France International represents a large network of French chambers abroad, 126 chambers in 95 countries and close to 40,000 member companies. In terms of our presence in India, we've had 4 offices up until last year. So Delhi, Mumbai, and in the south, Chennai and Bangalore. And we are very pleased to inform you that as of last November, we inaugurated a new office in Pune. And for this, I would like to welcome our Vice President, Mr. Ravin Mirchandani, who is the Executive Chairman of Adore Powertrain, to kindly present our activities in Pune on the next slide. Ravin, if you can hear me, you'll have to put on your video and your mic.
Okay, can you hear me now? I've got both on.
Yes, perfect.
Yes, okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the AGM of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The activities in Pune for the Chamber started, in fact, in 2017 when we appointed a representative office, and the ambassador at that time also came down to launch us in Pune. We officially launched the chapter in Pune as a sub-chapter for West India in November 2019, and since then have actually been quite active. We have 41 members now in Pune already, and we've had 4 advocacy events in that short amount of time, even through the Corona period. First, we had the Consul General from Bombay, Ms. Sonia Babri, who came for a breakfast with CEOs. We followed that up immediately as we went into Corona with some advocacy events with the Commissioner of Police for Pune, advising CEOs on how to manage the lockdown. We then had an event with the Labour Secretary and also an event with the Minister of Industries for Maharashtra. Today, we are quite active in Pune already, thanks to the activities of Abhishek, who's been appointed to look after IFCCI in Pune, as well as the guidance of Bruno. We really love the chamber in Pune. We have 2 big events coming up on the 9th of October, a discussion with the Principal Secretary for the state of Maharashtra, followed by a grand summit on smart cities either in late October or early November. So we're looking forward to being an active part of the Chamber's activities in India. Thank you very much, and back to you, Payal.
Thank you very much, Ravin. So moving on, I would like to show you our executive committee members. We have a great representation in India. So, of course, with our president, Sumit Anand, and myself, we have vice presidents in all of our regions. So Eliza Ketty in Bangalore, Joel Verani, who you saw a short while ago in Chennai, Emmanuel de Roquefeuille in Delhi, Emeric Deranies in Mumbai, and of course, Ravin, we just saw in Pune. And the most important, I would say, our treasurer, Francisca, based out of Mumbai as well. Our team today is about 30 people, pan-India across our 5 offices. So here's a quick glimpse of the team. And of course, they are broken up into various departments such as business support services, communications, events and membership, HR and recruitment services. So we have a great team now, and it's growing year on year. Thanks to all of our members, supporters, and various partners. We are very pleased that we've been able to win 2 international awards 2 years in a row by the CCI France International. We were awarded as the best performing chamber in 2018, and we also won an award for the best contribution for several advocacy initiatives last year. So these were both received during the annual directors seminar of all French chambers in the world in the month of June. In terms of our membership, as of today, we stand at about 640 members. So we have a great breakup of French companies, Indian companies, and in the past year, we had about 140 new members that joined us in the financial year. Membership and annual sponsorship is very important for the chamber. It accounts for about 1/3 of our revenue. So, the team has been working very hard this year to be in touch with our members and to handhold them through this time, and of course, to understand their challenges. I'd also like to, give a shout out and thank all of our annual sponsors. These are companies that support the chamber on an annual basis. And of course, they receive a year-long visibility and a number of other benefits. So thank you so much to all of our annual sponsors that have been sponsoring us for so many years in a row. In terms of our events and networking, I think, Sumit had mentioned earlier that the number of events has grown phenomenally over the past 5 years. And today we're organizing a little more than 100 events a year. Of course, in a pre-COVID context, we were very active in terms of seminars, workshops, conferences, social networking evenings. I mean, so many events we've organized, but the current context has not stopped us. We've been organizing all of our events in a virtual format. And since the month of, end of March, we've done about 60 webinars. And most of them are related to, COVID-19 and helping our companies and understanding, the current landscape. Flagship events, so our gala dinners are very important to the chamber. Last year we organized 2 dinners in Mumbai and Bangalore, and these are grand soirees with a very specific theme, where we bring in our members and special guests, and of course senior government officials, and just for a grand evening to celebrate our chamber, and of course a moment for all of us to come together. And I'm secretly hoping that we can organize something on the same lines in 2021. We also organized the 2nd edition of the Indo-French Business Awards and the Grand Prix Veilleux in partnership with Business France last year at the Embassy of France. And I'd like to thank His Excellency for all of his support. This is a much sought after event and awards night because it really celebrates the success of French and Indian companies. This year, we plan to organize it as well, although perhaps in a smaller format and live streamed digitally. But yes, we usually have about 9 award categories, 3 VIE awards, and last year we had about 100 nominations, which is quite impressive. We also organized our Indo-French Investment Conclave last year in Goa. This was following the huge success of what we had done in 2018 in Nagpur. So the idea behind an investment conclave is to organize a large-scale French delegation, Indo-French delegation, I would say, to a specific city or a region to understand the investment opportunities. So last year we had chosen Goa because we have seen that there have been some French investments, and of course it's untapped territory, and it's also helping us understand, what the possibilities are in other geographies as compared to where French companies are traditionally invested in India. So this was a big success. We had the Chief Minister, we had the Minister of State for Defense, of course we had His Excellency with us, and the Consul General of France in Mumbai, Sonia Barbary. So it was a successful event. And this year, we are really looking forward to organizing something on similar lines in the state of Tamil Nadu in December. And once again, it will be in a virtual format. One of the most important platforms that IFCCI has today is its committees. So we run 16 functional and sector committees. And these are really strong platforms to help our members engage with one another. Last year, we organized about 60 events, and these committees bring together 700 member contacts. And we are very, thankful to all of the top leadership of our member companies for investing their time and energy in making these committees a success. You can see some of the events that were organized last year. So it's everything from a roundtable with a government authority to awards and conclaves to, we launched the mobility committee last year with Joel and with His Excellency and the former consul in Chennai. So these are really interesting platforms. And of course, this would not be possible without the support of all of the chairpersons and vice chairpersons. So I'd like to thank all of them. You can see all of their photos here. Secondly, we also organize a lot of advocacy. Over the past years, IFCCI has been very active in engaging with the government authorities in India and in France. On a yearly basis, we organize about 10 roundtable meetings with the authorities, and usually we get together our French companies, we propose recommendations, we work with knowledge partners. Invest India is a very important partner for IFCCI, and I know they're listening in today, so thank you very much. And of course, this is something that we would like to continue to do and focus more on, especially with the current context where we feel a number of our companies require that support. Business support services is a very important department at IFCCI. It's essentially all of the support we provide to French companies in India and to Indian companies in the French market. As of 2020, IFCCI is a reference partner of Business France. I'd like to mention that Business France has welcomed a new director for India and South Asia, Mr. Eric Fajol, and IFCCI is very pleased to have this strong partnership with Business France. So last year, we supported a number of companies, and this involves, of course, a wide array of services from helping a company set up in India to creating their legal entity, to hiring their teams, to managing their outsourcing. So it's really a wide range of services which are very important to IFCCI. And I would also like to highlight the business center. We have 4 business centers in India, and we host a number of companies in our premises. And this year we've made a huge effort in terms of communicating about the fact that we have reopened fully sanitized offices. So it's a very safe environment. And of course, it's very important for us to respect all of the protocols and hygiene protocols in place. And please do know that, we have opened our offices to our clients. If you are looking for space, please do contact our teams. Apart from that, last year we organized a very large event for HCL Technologies. HCL, as we know, is a large IT conglomerate, and they were celebrating their 10-year anniversary in France. So we put together a digital forum organized at the Ritz Hotel in Paris, which went off very well. And we also welcomed a French delegation to India. So these are a few highlights. Moving on, our HR and Recruitment Services Department was launched at the Chamber about 8 years ago, and it's really been growing ever since. Last year, we received about close to 700 CVs, and these CVs are both French nationals, Indian alumni, so, young graduates coming back from doing their studies in France. We also received about 110 job offers and completed 70 placements. So I'd like to congratulate Sapna and her team for the fantastic work. In terms of new initiatives, we've been building on our activities and services. So we've also launched full-fledged HR advisory and operations. We've launched training, relocation services, and of course, we work with a wide range of partners for this. So if you're looking at hiring in India, please know that you can count on IFCCI as your partner. In terms of communication, I'm sure all of you follow us on social media and you receive our publications, but it's really something that we've been focusing on a lot over the past couple of years. Ishita Jain is within our team, and of course, we have a full team dedicated to communications, but we've been focusing more on knowledge publications and our magazine, and of course digital media as well. So this is something which is very important for the Chamber as well. We are also very active with the media. Every time we are organizing an important event or interaction, or even if there's a important news that's coming out, we try to send out a press release and get publicized in the media. I think it's very important to talk about all the great and strong relationship that India and France share. So I also wanted to end my presentation by giving you a few highlights of what's been going on since April, because this presentation was essentially for the last financial year. But I would like to mention that, the IFCCI team has adapted well to the new working context, and we've all been working from home. And now, of course, our offices have been gradually opening up. We've organized close to 60 webinars, as I had mentioned earlier, during this time. We also wanted to focus more on CSR and of course highlight all the great work and contributions of our member companies. So we had released a report and a video which was shared by the Embassy of France during the 14th July celebrations. And I'd like to thank His Excellency, because I know that he's also been really encouraging us to work more on CSR and to understand all the great work that's going on by our member companies. In fact, on that note, on the 29th of October, we will be organizing the next edition of the CSR Conclave and Awards. So do look out for that event. We also conducted some business surveys related to COVID-19 to understand what our companies, are feeling about this pandemic and how is it really impacting their business. We also launched the IFCCI Business Leaders Delegation, bringing together 75 CEOs of our member companies in India. So we organized 3 meetings region-wise for the North, South, and the West. So this is a great platform, again, to be a part of during this current context. We also formed new leadership for our sector and functional committees. We've already organized about 7 advocacy sessions. And of course, we've also launched new training services. So lastly, I'm very pleased that we will be launching 2 initiatives today at our AGM. The first one being the online membership directory. We're very pleased to announce that we are finally going online with our members directory. So all our members need to do is log into our website. We will be sending in a tutorial to all of our members shortly, but do look out for that, because I think it's going to be much easier than carrying our, the book version of the membership directory. So this is a big change and a big news that we wanted to, announce today. And of course, we will be releasing the activity report for the year 1920, and a mail will be going out after the AGM. And last but not least, thank you very much to our partners and sponsors. I'd like to personally thank the French team in India, or Team France as we call it. So the Embassy of France in India, which is headed by His Excellency Mr. Emmanuel Lena, Business France, AFD, the French Foreign Trade Advisors, which is the CCEF, and of course, all of our partners in France. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening in, and thank you for your patience. Over to you, Priyank.
Thank you, Payal. Thank you, Robin. I now welcome Ms. Eliza Ketty, Vice President of IFCCI, based out of the Bangalore chapter, a French foreign trade advisor with the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and also the country manager for Helma International, to welcome the moderator for our next session. Eliza, could you please unmute yourself?
Thank you, Priyank. That's quite useful as a tip. Thank you, Priyank. It's an immense pleasure for me to introduce to our audience today Mr. Govindraj Etiraj, our esteemed moderator for both panel discussions that will take place this afternoon. Govindraj is a seasoned television and print journalist and founder and editor of India's first data journalism initiative, India Spend. He also writes for newspapers like Business Standard on business issues, and anchors seasonal shows on channels like Headlines Today and Rajya Sabha Television. The first panel that Govindraj will be moderating today will be with the 2 French giants, Schneider Electric and ENGIE India. So their journey so far in India, as well as their vision for the years to come. Govindraj, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. We are going to be looking at 2 companies and in a somewhat case study format, but the idea is very simply to understand from both these companies what they've been doing in the last couple of years. And this is not something that others do not know. Schneider, for example, has been in a very, very large and public acquisition, which has just concluded after a long time. And we've also seen a fair amount of activity from NG in the automotive component space. But the idea here is to really ask both our speakers, Anil Chaudhary and Nirav Nanavati, to speak for a few minutes each on the few things that they've been seeing in the economy and the market that stood out for them, their own trends and highlights from their company's perspective, or their company plus industry's perspective, and then maybe a quick conversation if we still have time. So on that note, let me hand over quickly to Anil Chaudhary of Schneider Electric.
Thank you, Govindraj. Your Excellency, Mr. Emmanuel Lene, Mr. Hemant Kanoria, Sumit, and other members of IFCCI team, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to connect with you today. Schneider Electric in India today is one of the largest, I will say, French companies present here, as we have just completed our deal with L&T Electrical Automation. We are approximately 28,000 people, and as far as manufacturing in India is concerned, now we already had 23 sites, and now we are adding five more, and we will be 28 sites in India. And also with this entity, we will have few sites outside India as well. Now, our journey in India has been, quite long, and has, like any other global company, when you go to new markets, it has seen own ups and downs. We have started our business here as a JV in 1963. And then, of course, it went through various ups and downs. But, what was very important that, the Schneider Electric management has taken a view on India as a long-term view. And in 2003, we started looking at India, which will be take its own time, but it will be a big market, and this is what it is turning out to be. So we started our first manufacturing site at that point of time, and then slowly with inorganic growth, we started building on our base here. And it was our presence in India is a success of both organic as well as inorganic, strategy, which we have put in place. And with today, from 2007, we started accelerating, investments here more. And the acquisition of L&T Electrical Automation will say that from 2007 to now, inorganically, we have almost, completed local, which are present, which are in India, but also global companies, which we've acquired, which had operation in India. So give you a scale from, about 150 million euros turnover. Lot of that was imported at that point of time. I'm talking of 2007, with 1,500 people. Today, we are, after 13 years, we are 28,000 people. And we are talking of an activity of Schneider Electric in India, which is to the tune of 2 billion euros. And that's the kind of, scale in which we are operating. And in terms of the size of the country, now we are at par with France, almost same size of activity there. So, and this has been, a consistent approach. And of course, doing business in India, we all know that you have to probably enjoy all the uncertainties. You have to enjoy all those, you have to be probably patient with all those kind of what we call as, mess and surprises. But in the end, it's a long-term story. It's a long-term view you have to take always on a business. And that has what paid us today. And when I talk in that, we are talking of, when we're talking of manufacturing in India, we have created some best technology lighthouses of manufacturing in India, bringing Industry 4.0 as part of our tailored supply chain. And 50% of what we are producing in India almost is exported to more than 30 countries. And that gives us the scale. That gives us what we call as Make in India. And we have local innovation and R&D for developing products locally, but also then taking those to the export markets. And this is where when we talk of contribution to Make in India, when we talk of the contribution to Digital India, with some of the lighthouses of manufacturing by implementing our Industry 4.0 solutions in our factories in Hyderabad and Bangalore, we have created an infrastructure which sets the pace for sharing this knowledge with a wider industry to create the productivity and efficiency. And this is where we are committed. And in the end, I'll say that, we are also very proud to be participating with the growth of India, be it Digital India, and especially the Skill India. And we have almost, trained 130,000 plus youth in technicians for renewable energies, for solar energy, for electricity. And they are now part of our ecosystem of growth, which are there. And as we move on with this L&T electrical automation, it sets further our ambition for continuing contributing and growing in India, for India, and from India for globe. That is what we believe in, and that's what the story we follow when we look at India as a country, or as a country where we can have the manufacturing base, we can have a good talents coming from India, which can work globally, and also a lot of development which we still foresee to come, which defines our long-term ambition in India as well. That's what I'll just like to add here. Over to you.
Right, thanks for that, Anil. May I hand this over to Nirav? Over to you for a few minutes.
Sure, thank you, Govindraj. Good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellency, Mr. Kanoria, Sumit, other colleagues. Thanks for having me. So, as I like to say, NG is probably the largest company people have never heard of. It's not a household name, to be honest, but we are the world's largest independent power producer today. So in excess of 100 gigawatts of installed capacity worldwide. And our history in India is long and rich, and as many other companies, quite tumultuous as well. We started in 1993. That was our first avatar. Today we are in our third avatar, which I think is the most relevant one, if you ask me, and that is basically focusing on the Make in India and the acceleration to clean energy campaigns that the government of India has launched. We essentially operate in three different verticals in India. The B2G vertical, which is participating in large-scale government tenders for solar as well as wind energy production. The B2B vertical, which is empowering and enabling large global consumers, industrial producers on their zero carbon transition journey. So helping them with energy efficiency, facilities management, hand-holding them with the tools that we possess to lead them on the path to green carbon and zero carbon transition. And finally, there's a B2C segment, which is a combination of CSR initiatives as well as commercial initiatives where we sell directly to rural consumers in the hinterland of India. So empowering villagers, enabling the access of energy, clean energy rather, to people who have not been electrified yet. So that's the area that we serve in that vertical. Our journey today is a combination of organic and inorganic steps that we've taken over the last couple of years. Today we are about over 1.5 gigawatts of renewable energy spread out across the wind and solar spaces. This is all large scale. We are also serving some industrial customers. That part of our business is fairly nascent. And then we have about 35,000 small rural customers in UP, Bihar, and Orissa, where we sell them solar home solutions. About 1,000 people in the NG family in India. That's, I'll hand it over to you, so leave some time for Q&A, Govindraj. Thanks.
Right. Thank you very much. My apology for saying that you were an auto component company. I confused That's it okay. with another company who comes later. I meant to say that you were in low carbon energy and services. Now, I also understand that you have more than a gigawatt of installed capacity in India, or is that not true?
That is correct. That's almost 1.2 gigawatts now. And the way we do our business is we typically bring in partners. So we are the physical operating partner on the ground, but then we have financial investors coming in. So we have over a gigawatt of solar and almost 300 megawatts of wind energy that we are operating on.
Right, and even globally, and I'll come to you, Anil, in a moment, even globally, more than a third of your capacity, as I understand, is renewable. So how is that transition, or what speed has that transition happened, and do you see that panning out similarly in India as well?
Yeah, I think fair question. And as the world moves very fast, so have we. So I think a large preponderance of our renewable capacity has come online over the last 5 to 6 years. And it's accelerating. We've shut down coal. We've divested out of our coal businesses. So the only focus right now is growing clean energy, and that's predominantly wind, solar, and within wind, it's both onshore as well as offshore, where we have large positions globally. We're looking at India from an offshore perspective just because of the large coastline and opportunity that India offers. Also floating solar because of the large amounts of dams and reservoirs that exist in India, which could be used as a template for floating solar. That transition is accelerating very fast, and because of the scale that India offers, India remains a very key and relevant market for us.
Give us a sense on projects that you have underway currently.
So we have two very large projects underway. One is a 250 megawatt wind installation that we're doing in Tamil Nadu. That was under the auspices and context of the SECI program, which is a central off-taker. It's a very large area. If you just want to put it in perspective, it's almost 1,200 square kilometers spread over 50 villages near Tuticorin in almost the southern tip of Tamil Nadu, which is the wind corridor. A very large area. So that's one. Another one is a solar park project that we're undertaking in Gujarat. That's 200 megawatts in North Gujarat.
Right. So would this be, I'm just trying to remember, would this be somewhere near Kudankulam where the nuclear power plant is?
Very close. Not exactly there, but very close, yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Anil, let me come to you. So tell us about what you did not say so far. I mean, what has been your the process of bringing in L&T like? What is the new opportunities that you see as a combined company? And also, what are the things that you were doing minus L&T, which is the classic Schneider, including on the retail front?
Yes. So, L&T project we have been following for many years, while the market side that we have signed the deal 2.5 years ago, and then we have closed it, which is also a very long time. And this is what I call as, all those challenges and uncertainties you have to keep on following. But we were resilient on this project. And this is true because, when we look at L&T Electrical Automation, it is almost like 5,000 people, a fully integrated company with a very, local manufacturing innovation mindset, which meets the requirements of new and emerging economies. And as Schneider Electric, as a global company, but we operate very locally. We want to meet the requirements of the countries where we operate, be it in terms of the specification, be it in terms of the way the various standards and the solutions are looked at. So I think L&T strengthens our portfolio to that extent that because we are in the business of energy management, electrical and automation. And if we look at India growth story, I think what India has to be as a developed nation, almost like 50-60% of the infrastructure is still to be developed. And that kind of potential, if we can fulfill with the now L&T Electrical Automation being part of that and providing the customer a wider choice of solutions at whatever the prices, references they want to weigh it. And that's what probably we will from Schneider Electric portfolio saturate and provide the solutions to customers, which will come with the Schneider Electric presence, which was already there, and now bringing L&T Electric. You talk about, the retail part, because this is one area which is very much, you have to operate locally. You are in Chavdi Bazaar, you are in Chandni Chowk, you have to have those retailers. And as a multinational, sometimes we can, skip those kind of things. I think India's growth of what consumers want comes from that counters, which are the, especially in the retail side. I think with the L&T network, with the Luminous network which we have, and the Schneider Electric network, we will be close to 90,000 points of sales in this country. That means, if we see that any other second corner of the street, you will find a Schneider Electric brand being available either from L&T Electrical Automation or Schneider Electric or from Luminous. And India has a huge potential. We have still, people which have access to energy, and this is where we want, and also the productivity and efficiency of the whole ecosystem of energy. There's a lot to be done and a lot of industrialization to be happen, a lot of infrastructure to be built. And with digitization, where India is taking leapfrogging and taking big steps, data centers, telecom, and we are seeing healthcare now with the COVID coming in. Everywhere we see a huge potential for many years to come. And that's where this bringing together of L&T Electrical Automation and Schneider Electric under the umbrella of Schneider Electric will give us a lot of potential and choice to our customers at every point, whatever kind of solution they want, wherever they want in the country. And with our people being very close to them, that will make a difference for us, as we see.
Right. So let me get a sense of larger trends, and these trends could be global that influence India or just global in general. So let me begin with you, Nirav. Tell us about what you're seeing in maybe in the post-COVID world. I thought I'll hold my COVID question for a little longer, but then Anand's already mentioned the word, so now I must jump into it.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I think the train has left the station, as I say, about on the acceleration to renewables and clean energy, and not just in terms of large infrastructures, but also in terms of decentralized sources for energy. And there are three trends that are shaping for a while now, but I think they're gaining larger and greater momentum as we go along, and that is digitization, decentralization, and decarbonization. And all these three trends are intermingling to achieve solutions that have hitherto not been seen before in the industry. So we talk about battery storage commingling with wind and solar at a single site to offer round-the-clock power or load-following electricity, shaped electricity to industries so that when they need it, they have it on demand. Recharging infrastructure to see the sprouting of charging infrastructure and electric vehicles in Europe, which is now quickly making its way to cities in India, be it Bangalore, Ahmedabad. There are a number of places. Delhi's come up with a policy as well. So that's a new thing. Managing large installations, I talk about digitization now, managing large installations remotely so that you have up-to-date real-time information on how your assets are performing, whether you're being productive or not, whether you're being efficient or not. So I think all these three trends, this is what we're seeing around our assets globally, are commingling and coming together to create value for our clients.
You mentioned this massive 250 megawatt plant in Tamil Nadu, southern Tamil Nadu. Where would that be managed from?
So that be managed centrally at our Delhi office. Mm-hmm. We have a network center that we operate where we'll know exactly which turbine is operating at what speed, at what wind velocity, at any given point in time, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So it's all fully automated, and that's how it will be managed.
And you don't have, I'm sure you have people on ground, but compared to maybe the past, you're saying that the number of people there is much less, and you have sensors which send all the data back to your control centers.
That's exactly right. And that's where, we interact with people like Schneider to make sure we have the automation and the technology that we need to be able to manage, operate, and maintain these plants remotely, because as the number of plants grow, because these are large swaths of land, you need fewer and fewer people then to make sure that you're being efficient.
Right. So trick question. So what do you do about the dust that settles on I'm not talking about the wind part now, on solar panels in India?
Yeah, so we have cleaning solutions now, automated cleaning solutions, right, which are robotic in nature, which sit on top of the panels, and then they move every so often on an automated pattern, all remotely controlled. So it's called dry cleaning. Instead of the olden times when you used to have piped water by a number of people in your labor force, kind of washing the panels on a routine basis.
Right. Okay. Anil, broad trends that you're seeing, global impacting India.
I think, yes, we are seeing in short term, because the last few months have been very challenging. But the good part is that in spite of all those things, now we see the things coming back, because when I see after, unlock 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, month after month, our sales and our activities are coming back to the pre-COVID level, so which is a good sign. And this is where, some more activities are also taking further. And Nanavati just said about this, the solutions which we are providing to industry, which is IoT enabled, which are all digital, and which a platform called EcoStruxure. And whether it is for a plant like this, we call it EcoStruxure plant, where you connect different layers at different type, because you can manage the machine at the plant, you can manage a machine, multiple machines at the control room in the plant, and you can manage many plants from your headquarters in Delhi, Mumbai, wherever you are. So this is where now there's a lot of demand, and that is also coming because first everybody wants more. Electricity is becoming more digital, and also there is a good demand from the clients now to be sensitive about sustainability and durability and climate. And efficiency and productivity definitely comes in. So we see that as we come out of this situation in the coming months, there is going to be a big push into these technologies. And this is where now we are focusing on, this is where now we are working on, so that we can provide our customers, our and the government infrastructure and all, the kind of productivity, efficiency solution which are sustainable, which are green. All the products, almost 50% of the products and which we are using in now in our project, they come with green technologies, and which really bring it value for the overall end customers and our clients as well. And we see a big future in our EcoStruxure for various industry, be it a plant, be it grid, be it industry, be it a data center, or be it a building. Everywhere you will see a lot of requirements coming in, and that's what we see as a future for the whole industry going forward.
Right, and I'll come to buildings in a moment, but so today's theme is, can India become a global hub both as a market and in manufacturing? So tell us about when you look at the projects underway, as you said that things have started recovering post-COVID, and if all projects that are a little ahead in the pipeline. What is the nature of these projects? Is it the digitization and creating the connectivity and the sensors and linking everything up? Is it brand new infrastructure, or is it a mix of all of that?
So first, you used a very important word, hub. With the acquisition of L&T Electrical and Automation, India is now the 4th largest hub for Schneider Electric. The other 3 being in France, of course, and 1 in China, 1 in US. And from this, the objective of this hub is that these teams, are empowered to manage the Indian market, and from India, the new economies where the market requirements are more or less, similar to the kind of we are working. So we see that going forward, this is the future that you have to, probably the global companies and the supply chains has to be now more and more, we have seen in the last few months, that you have to be sustainable locally. And that's what we are trying to, work on this. Now, when we look at the future of infrastructure, definitely any infrastructure which is, whether it's a new infrastructure for sure, that has to be more and more digital, more and more connected, more and more remote, more and more, customers will look for sustainable green products and solutions. But there's a huge requirement because the buildings almost consume, 50 to 60% of the energy, wherever we may be. The equation could be different. Now, imagine the efficiency which these buildings, if we run these efficiently, how much contribution they can do positively to the climate challenge which we have. So that is the focus on this. For sure, new buildings have to come with these new technology, but all the brownfield projects and building, this is where we are working with our various clients, that the existing buildings, how we can upgrade the technologies, how we can retrofit with the new technologies, so that they can start having those savings. For sure, it shows into the P&L bottom line, but at the same time, big contribution to sustainability and climate, and also remaining connected, because we have seen in this COVID times, many of our customers which were running essential supply chains, and they were able to run their operations, and our teams have been supporting them remotely. In Bangalore, we have our service bureau which were connected those data centers and all, and they were able to monitor their facilities. And in case something was noticed that there will be some challenge, they were able to tell the clients up in advance. So that's the future. And that's where now this new technologies will help us to keep the infrastructure growing.
Right. Give us an illustration of this, maybe, let's say, the most challenging moment that you would have seen in the last 5 to 6 months. I mean, you don't have to mention the name of a company, but the nature of challenge and what you did or how your systems responded. So,
of course, hospitals, many of hospitals had a very standard structure, ICUs, OPDs, and all those things. And suddenly there was a need to convert a lot of areas in that hospital into emergency wards where they can get, and I'm talking of very early April and everything. Within 24 hours, we were given a 500 beds facility to be created, which is powered, which is, secure power is there, backup power is there, and the whole electrical distribution for all that area has to be created. Our teams with our partners were able to react fast, and within 24 hours, from picking up the equipment, assembling them, and transporting them, installing them, commissioning them was one. In a normal course, it can take 4 months, 3 months to 4 months. Within 24 to 48 hours, the hospitals were running. Same is the case in another large hospital in the country, which is run, creating a 100-bed facility in a 1 week time to receive the COVID patients with all the facilities. Data center, which was the backbone of all the supply chain and made the country work and connected. Our people, initial time, there was a lot of clarity not there. Our people have traveled on cycle for 24 to 30 kilometers to visit our customers on cycle and provide them the service whenever they require a site, in addition to provide them remotely, because then remotely you sense it, then you have to change a battery or change a device or a thing that you have to go physically. So our people could go that, and that was what some very specific actions which we did with close to our customers' requirements in that time.
Right, and as you look at your order book for the next couple of years, and in the, let's say, 18 months or so, and this is really in the context once again of India as a manufacturing hub or a market hub opportunity. How much of this is brownfield and how much of this is greenfield? I mean, brownfield could well be bigger than greenfield, but I'm just trying to understand in terms of where the growth is happening.
Our business, one part, Schneider Electric, and I'm sure many organizations will have their own go-to-market. We are present in multiple segments. As of now, I am catering to almost like any infrastructure. We are in hospitals, we are in data centers, we are in infrastructure, we are in metros, we are in buildings, we are in oil and gas, we are in MMM. So there are, in this case, there are some orders in like MMM is a little bit slow, oil and gas is slow, but utilities, data centers, healthcare, they are, we have order books which are there for us to matter. Exports orders are coming from mature economies because they have come out of this situation early, so all the projects are back. Indian suppliers, projects which were announced before COVID, there had been some delay of 3-4 months, but now as the sites are opening up, the site activities are picking up, again, the demand is coming. I suppose this quarter, the quarter 4 calendar year, could be one which is a defining quarter for us to define how the overall recovery will happen. Because if we can, all the projects being on, if we can able to supply that, then we will have a good green shoots indicators in front of us, which can define that how the 2021 will work out. So we see, mixed segments and mixed views there. Sorry.
Last 2 minutes to go.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, Nirav, let me get you in very quickly. So how do you see in the coming 18 months or so, where are you putting your maximum efforts in terms of either converting existing opportunities or creating new ones, or really brownfield versus greenfield?
Sure. So I think the adoption of technology in the new normal post-COVID, I think, has been spoken about fairly eloquently. So I think there's 2 things I want to leave you with. One is, what the world will see very quickly is a flight to quality, and your customers, whether our government customers or industrial customers or even retail consumers, will perceive very quickly who will be the ones left standing at the end of all this. And for people who have credible balance sheets, strong balance sheets, a commitment to quality, I think they will be the winners in the long run. And we're seeing that already because what we end up building here is assets that have to last 25 or 30 years. So a difference in how we construct them, an emphasis on health and safety, all that comes into play to ensuring that there's sustainable value and quality for the consumer. That's the first thing. Second thing, yes, India has a huge market, a huge scale in terms of an opportunity for a manufacturing hub as well as a market hub. But let's not kid ourselves either. India comes with a lot of noise. I mean, we all know that India assaults you in terms of the senses, the smells, the taste, and the same is true in terms of regulations, policy, etc. What manufacturing and industry needs is a very stable framework of regulatory policy and primarily focusing on three things: land, labor, and cost of power, and taxation. And if these 3 or 4 things are addressed favorably in a long term, I think there is no stopping us. So I would like to see from the authorities more of a focus on these 3 or 4 key things that are kind of, I'd say, holding back the further acceleration of Indian industry.
Right, land, labor, and taxation. Anil, your wish list. I mean, what are the 2 or 3 things that authorities should focus on in order to make things go faster?
I will say that,
I remember your announcement for L&T, for instance, was in 2018. I think it was mid 2018, and then. Yes,
that's where the authorities comes in, because that's what I said. This is India. If you want to do business in India, you have to be tuned to these kind of uncertainties, and that's what probably is the differentiator of India as well. Now, if I say, because we are talking of of course, I think we all know that industry with law, regulation, land, these are common, and labor, these are common points. But I will say more what we will need is a real serious focus from authorities from the point of view of some regulations where, all the new infrastructure which is built, they should be more sustainable and more resilient and more, I will say, contributing to the efficiencies of energy. We have been talking of this. There are standards which are being talked of that, but it is also taking a lot of time. But since a lot of infrastructure is to build, if India can take a step forward, like we did in the company laws or the way the CSR was made as a part of the company law, there were a lot of good things India has shown to the world that we can go ahead. I think on these aspects also there will be a lot of things, that quality of the infrastructure, if there could be a good emphasis on sustainability, on efficiency, and overall energy consumption, that could be great contributor to the, of course, Indian economy as well as to the world climate situation.
Right. Right. That's a good note to end on. We've heard the opportunities, the likely expansion possibilities in this country, particularly as we go and more towards a more green future, and the contribution of technology to that march, which of course is unending. So on that note, thank you both, and let me hand it back to the organizers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Govindraj, for the excellent, crisp moderation, which of course reflects and is only testimony of the experience you come along with. And thank you, Anil and Neera, for joining us today and for the interesting and insightful discussion. We'll now move on to a presentation by Mr. Fatih Jafar, Deputy CEO of Amundi. The virtual floor is yours.
Je suis où là? It's okay? Do you see me, please?
Could you turn your video on? We can hear you.
Ah. Sorry, it's the COVID impact. Okay, sorry. It's working now?
Please, do you see me?
Yes, your video is on. We'll just get you up on the main screen.
Okay, I can start. Okay. First, thank you for this invitation, and it's very important testimony I will present now. So, good morning, everybody, dear distinguished guests and audience. I'm glad to be here with you today.
Excuse me, we have to wait for a minute. There was some, it was taking time for you to sign and turn on the camera, so I have feed in a video. So just a moment.
This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Houston, don't give up until you drink from the silver cup. Houston, and ride that highway in the sky. Houston, this is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Don't give up until you drink from the silver cup. Can I help you? And ride that highway in the sky.
At BNP Paribas, we know that we're stronger when we're well accompanied. This is why we'll always be by your side.
Never know until you
Imagine. Imagine millions of objects, tons of all different kinds of products, changing hands every day all over the world. Objects, all different kinds of products, crossing oceans to arrive at our door in the heart of our towns and cities, or leaving for all four corners of the globe. So, imagine a port capable of processing this amount of merchandise in a completely reliable way. Everyday objects, capital goods, processed food products, energy products, chemicals. Imagine a port playing its part in the functioning of the city by dealing with the delivery of construction materials and disposing of waste. Imagine a simplified organisation with hands-on operators. A port recognised for its reliability and the quality of the service it provides, where the safety of the people working there and the security of the goods are assured. Imagine one of the largest industrial centres in the world where high-tech industries can develop with research and innovation. Now, imagine a harbour system directly open to the seas, spread out over 200 kilometres, capable of welcoming thousands of visitors, capable of supplying millions of consumers, by river, by rail, by road. A logistical development on an international scale, promoting a clean mode of transport. Imagine a port which generates 160,000 direct and related jobs. A tool that is indispensable to the external trade of France. A port undergoing constant development, respectful of the environment, responsible for maintaining quality of life.
One speaker, one presentation.
1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker, 1 presentation. 1 speaker
We are good to go.
Okay.
Priyank, I think we're good to go.
Please go ahead, Mr. Jafar.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad to be here with you today and being given the opportunity to speak about an impressive success story in the Indian financial industry. I am also glad to have the opportunity to share this session with a special guest and one of the main contributors of this success, Mr. Shri Dinesh Kumar Kara, currently Managing Director in charge of global banking and subsidiaries of State Bank of India, and former Managing Director and CEO of our GV SBI Mutual Funds, or SBIMF. This success story is a perfect illustration of what a strategic alignment between two leaders in their respective markets and industries joining forces can produce. India is a nation where we can live outstanding human adventures that result in exceptional business achievements. My objective today is to share my testimony and the reasons for this success with you, and Mr. Kara will happily do the same in order for you to get the two facets of this success story. So I will talk about 4 topics. First, what is exactly the partnership? Second, words about the GV and the achievements of the GV. Third, I will try to give some reasons of the success of our GV. And I will finish with the ambitions for the future for the GV. And I think that you will have a very, very clear story of SBIMF. So the partnership, first, it's a partnership between two champions. SBI Mutual Fund, as you are seeing on the slide, is an Indian asset management company, a joint venture between two champions, State Bank of India, SBI, and Amundi. SBI is, as you all know, the leading banking group in India in terms of assets, deposits, branches, and employees. With over 22,000 branches across India, it has a remarkable nationwide coverage. With 450 million clients, it's really the banker to every Indian. With more than 200 years of history, SBI has always been at the forefront of ethics, sustainability, and financial inclusion in India. And with a 23% market share on deposits, SBI is the most trusted financial institutions for Indian investors. Amundi is also the leading group in the asset management industry in Europe, managing more than 1.6 trillion euros or 125 trillion Indian rupees of assets. Amundi is by far the first European manager. With close to 1 trillion euro managed for global institutions, pension funds, insurance groups worldwide, Amundi is a reference for institutional investors. With a presence in more than 40 countries worldwide, Amundi is a truly global group. And with more than 100 million retail clients, Amundi is the leading provider of investment solutions for individual investors. Now, SBIMF, the partnership between SBI and Amundi. SBIMF has a 33 years history since its creation by SBI in 1987. At the end of 2004, Société Générale Asset Management entered in its capital, and SBIMF became a joint venture with Amundi in 2011. SBIMF is currently 63% SBI, 37% by Amundi. The success of SBIMF is mainly explained by the last 5 years' achievements. What was SBIMF 5 years ago? It was ranked number 6 in terms of assets managed for its clients in mutual funds, with a 6.3% market share, and it managed less than 15 billion euro globally in mutual funds and mandates for institutions. Its parent bank network was not happily distributing its funds. And in terms of digital was contributing for almost nothing to the sales of its products. What were the objectives set by the shareholders, the board, and the management of the company back then? First, become number one in its market, doubling its market share to narrow the gap with SBI's own banking market share. Second, become the trusted provider of SBI for investment solutions adapted to its customers. And third, develop its digital presence on the Indian market in line with the evolution of the environment and be ready for the future. What did the joint venture realize since then? The three objectives have been met or exceeded. First, SBIMF is now ranking number one in mutual funds and number one globally in the Indian market, with a market share in mutual funds multiplied by 2.5 to 15.2%. And the assets it currently manages globally have been multiplied by 10, and more specifically, mutual funds by more than 4. SBI has trustfully become the largest distributor of SBI mutual funds products, thanks to the offer and service provided by SBIMF. SBIMF has developed a very powerful digital B2C distribution platform well suited to the current confinement situation in India and ready for the future developments of the Indian market towards more penetration of the investment solutions in the Indian population. What are the reasons behind this success? There are many reasons for this tremendous success. I have selected the following 3 that I consider to be key. First reason, success always starts with the right people. In 2015, 2 outstanding leaders, Mrs. Bhattacharya, chair lady of SBI, and Mr. Dinesh Kara, and I'm talking about Dinesh Kara not because he's here, because it's the reality. Mr. Dinesh Kara, newly promoted managing director and CEO of SBI at that time, brought together all the ingredients to accelerate the success of the joint venture. They both shared the strong strategic vision of the growing importance of the asset management for SBI and in India. Since then, their successors have remarkably taken over both the strategic vision and its relentless implementation. Second reason, a continuous pursuit of trust-generating performance. The joint venture's highly professional teams of portfolio managers have enhanced the performance of their products within a rigorous risk management framework with the aim of avoiding adventurous returns for investors. Since SBI is a very risk-aware and accountable Indian institution to its clients, this has been key to build the trust of the bank network and the products of its joint venture. All of the company's teams have built and strengthened around this objective of best serving clients' interests and being able to become the leader in its market. Third reason, and is our Amundi view, an accelerated cooperation between SBI, Amundi, and SBIMF. In this excellent spirit of cooperation, Amundi has been able to maintain a very fluid communication with the top management of SBI, and our 2 institutions demonstrate a solid strategic alignment. Amundi has also strengthened its cooperation with SBIMF, in particular through permanent exchanges and transfers of expertise with the joint venture, notably through the permanent presence in Mumbai of a deputy CEO and 3 to 5 Amundi experts in the investment, marketing, and risk management areas, sharing its experience of best practices at the service of its parent network by developing solutions-oriented offers adapted to clients' needs rather than traditional products-oriented ones. The promotion of the joint venture expertise on Indian assets to its international clients, SBI SBIMF today is the Indian hub of Amundi. Today, SBIMF manages or advises more than 1.5 billion euro for Amundi and for Amundi clients worldwide, and this will continue to grow fast. What next? We believe India will continue to get richer with a growing middle-class savings pool. The strategic alignment between SBI and Amundi is stronger than ever, and we share a new set of ambitions for SBI mutual funds over the next 5 years. As SBI is the banker to every Indian, SBI MF will become the asset manager and advisor of the Indian nation. It will continue its relentless development and will increase its market share over 20% to be in line with the market share of its parent bank. This requires many investments and developments, such as the opening of new branches, digital enhancements, etc., etc. These actions are well identified and are currently in course of implementation by the management of the joint venture. This also requires a purpose and exemplary corporate citizenship with a clear ethical operational framework at the service of Indian and global investors. SBIMF is clearly in line with this requirement as the leader in its market. To conclude, Amundi and I personally can only be proud to be part of this human adventure with remarkable teams in the joint venture and an outstanding vision and leadership at the top management level of SBI and the joint venture. Altogether, we are ensuring that the necessary elements are in place so that this partnership between our two institutions can last, grow, and prosper even more in the future. In this win-win partnership between two allied institutions, we have more ideas and projects for the years to come that will draw on Indian excellence and will demonstrate that the Make in India is also true in the financial industry. And now I'm honored to leave the floor to a special guest and someone I can call my personal friend, Mr. Dinesh Kara. Thank you, Ola.
Thank you, Fatih. I think it's an honor to be in association with Amundi when it comes to SBIMF. We have seen the kind of transformation which our company has seen in last 5 to 6 years' time. It is nothing but sharing of an ambition and also putting in place all the actions which are required to make it a reality. I think Fatih rightly mentioned that it is nothing but ongoing exchange which we are having at the top management level, and also we are giving a very clear direction to our people in the company. As I have worked as MD and CEO of the company, I can say it with conviction that this actually paved way for all the success. A very clear conviction could help us in laying down the policies and the action plan. And we had the benefit of Amundi's overall experience across the globe. And that actually came very handy. And subsequently, that it actually helped the company in achieving its aspiration of becoming global too. Because it's actually with the help of Amundi, we could reach out to many of the pension funds across the globe, and more so in the Latin America where we don't have any presence. It was actually we could leverage the presence of Amundi in these geographies, and we are in a position to offer the asset management capability of our SBI mutual fund to all these pension funds across the globe. I think it would not be out of place to mention that the constant engagement with the Amundi's investment team, of our investment team in SBI Mutual Fund, has actually led to a situation where their horizons have got enlarged significantly. I think for any emerging economy like India, it is always beneficial to have such kind of inputs also coming from the JV partner. And I think on the top of it, it is nothing but the trust and trust as far as the management of both the groups are concerned. Very frank exchange of ideas between the two, and also annually when we meet
and review the strategy, the kind of inputs which we get from the Amundi, I think that is something which is phenomenal, and that has helped us in working out the strategy which we are in a position to realize on an ongoing basis. So to my mind, it's in fact, Fatih very often says that this is the best performing JV across the globe. And I feel very proud in sharing this particular thought, which Fatih has been sharing with us. And actually, it goes a long way in terms of building up the morale and also the commitment of our people in SBI Mutual Fund. Rightly mentioned that we have got an ambition of becoming the fund manager to every Indian, as we are already, as we are actually the banker to every Indian. As far as State Bank of India is concerned, we would like our SBI Funds Management to be the fund manager to every Indian. When I'm saying so, I'm also mindful of the fact that a large number of Indian population is actually having a risk aversion too. And also we have to be very mindful in terms of the product which we offer to them when it comes to the market related product. So with these words, I actually salute our cooperation with Amundi and look forward for its growth in the days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khara, Mr. Jopal. While I make the next announcement, I request the organizers of the platform to set up our next session. I'd like to make a quick announcement to inform everyone that Shri K.T. Rama Rao, the Cabinet Minister for IT, ENC and Industries and Commerce at the Government of Telangana, who was our next guest, had to travel out of state last minute on an emergency and would not be able to join us today. However, he sends us all of our members his best wishes. I also is marked at the bottom of your screen. I apologize for the disturbance right behind. You would be able to interact with the participants using the chat options and exchange business cards with each other as well. Please feel free to explore that. And in a minute, we will exactly be back.
Imagine millions of objects, tons of all different kinds of products, changing hands every day all over the world. Objects, all different kinds of products, crossing oceans to arrive at our door in the heart of our towns and cities, or leaving for all four corners of the globe. So, imagine a port capable of processing this amount of merchandise in a completely reliable way. Everyday objects, capital goods, processed food products, energy products, chemicals. Imagine a port playing its part in the functioning of the city by dealing with the delivery of construction materials and disposing of waste. Imagine a simplified organisation with hands-on operators. A port recognised for its reliability and the quality of the service it provides, where the safety of the people working there and the security of the goods are assured. Imagine one of the largest industrial centres in the world where high-tech industries can develop with research and innovation. Now, imagine a harbour system directly open to the seas, spread out over 200 kilometres, capable of welcoming thousands of visitors, capable of supplying millions of consumers by river, by rail, by road. A logistical development on an international scale promoting a clean mode of transport. Imagine a port which generates 160,000 direct and related jobs. A tool that is indispensable to the external trade of France. A port undergoing constant development. Respectful of the environment, responsible for maintaining quality of life. A major player in its territory.
Welcome back, everyone. We now move on to the last section of our program for today with an interesting panel discussion with global leaders. I'm delighted to now invite Mr. Emmanuel de Roquefay, Vice President of IFCCI based in Delhi, the co-chairman of the IFCCI Defense and Aerospace Committee, and also the VP and Country Director India at Thales, to set the context for our next discussion and welcome our moderator for the session. Over to you, Emmanuel.
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure to set the context for this next panel discussion, which is coming within the 43rd AGM of IFCCI, the Indian-French Chamber of Commerce. We are inviting for so doing global leaders of various IFCCI members across all sectors of activity. And the theme is, can India become truly a global hub as a market and for manufacturing? This theme is extremely very timely, actually. As Sumit said, because of COVID and despite COVID. Actually, when you will talk, please think about three ideas. Ease of doing business. Actually, India, over the last months, years, has had a very great dynamic move, now being on the 63rd rank, where some years ago, it was at the 150th rank. So a great move. Make in India has become a very political word and is used in every industry. And the last one, I will try to pronounce it correctly, Atmanirbhar Bharat, or autonomy. Self-autonomy for India is actually the vision. So those ideas should really be behind your words and your comments as distinguished members of this panel. I welcome now Mr. Govindra Etiraj to chair this fantastic panel and have a rich and eventful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And let me plunge straight ahead, considering that we are running late. What I'm going to do is ask each of the speakers that I'm going to go to speak for about 2 or 3 minutes each. We are quite a large panel, so we could have had more time, but we now don't. So, and I'm also assuming that everyone has access to your backgrounds, and you are pretty well known, and so are your companies for many years. So let me start with Jerome. Do you want to go first? So the idea is to talk, I mean, you know the theme, it's about India becoming a global hub, both as a market and for manufacturing. So maybe the question that you could address is, what are the opportunities that you see right now? And then I can come back later maybe with questions. Okay, you have to unmute, Jerome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this panel. It's a privilege and an honor to be sent back even for a few minutes to India, because it's a country where I used to live and which I still cherish a lot. I'll try to be quick because I understand that we don't have much time, and I'll try to give you some example of what's going on with our company, Aremond. I'm currently in charge of Aremond in France, but Aremond is a family business. I started in 1865, 155 years ago, specialized in fasteners for the automotive industry. And I believe the story of Aremond in India gives a good example of what India is able to produce and to achieve. Our entity in India started in 2007, and through the innovation, you can get the sense of innovation, creativity with the people you have in India, the quality of competencies in engineering, other areas. There is no doubt that you can reach international standards. And Arémond India is definitely demonstrating that in a very impressive way today. First, because it's a subsidiary of Arémond Group who brought international customers to the network, to the whole global company. It's an entity where new technical solutions have been developed and deployed elsewhere. And more recently, it's also a company that had been able to show its resilience during COVID. The whole network of entities of Arémond company has gone through very difficult times, like many. But Arémond India is probably one of the very few entities in our company who is still able to post growth in 2020 as compared to 2019, are very, very little. It's the only one, or there may be only two in our network of entities. And this, while taking very good care of people, I believe this is something that where we can definitely take example of what has been performed in India. Taking care of the competencies on board, making sure that they will still be on board after the crisis. And this is very much needed today because now we go through a rush of activity, and our colleagues in India can be very happy to have protected somehow their workforce, despite all the difficulties, despite all the risks that they were coming through. And whether we're talking about resilience of the entity, or maybe the capacity to perform in very uncertain environment, which is what's going to happen to us even in Europe. I believe that there is a lot to learn from India. And now I'm back to France, so I see India for a bit afar, but there are many qualities available in this country that we should observe and take for us elsewhere to manage the situation that we have in front of us.
Right. Quick question. So you said you've done well or will do well in 2020. So is that OEM, automotive, or something else?
Yeah.
It would be good to know.
Yeah, it's automotive with also special positioning for India, because Arémond is 96-97% dedicated to the automotive business. But in India, we have started this year with the two-wheeler industry, which is unique to the company, with again quite a successful penetration on this market.
Right. So you're saying that because the two-wheeler has been somewhat steady or growing relative to everything else, you've also done better. Is that correct? Or
it is correct. But even without two-wheelers,
right,
we would have over performance compared to last year, which is quite amazing in the current context.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, great. Alain Papias, can I invite you to speak for the next few minutes?
Sure, Govindra, very, very nice to meet you. Needless to say that India for BNP Paribas has supported, I would say, very long-term commitment, because we opened in 1860, and if my information are correct, we have been the second oldest foreign bank in India, operating for close to 160 years now, which shows the importance of India for the group. And first, we opened in India to support our French clients operating in that country in the middle of the 19th century. I would not elaborate on India as a global hub for manufacturing, because I'm surrounded on screen, at least, by people who have probably better knowledge on the industry than I am. But I will take my banker's hats, because I think part of the question is, can India become a global hub or a key global market in the world? Having operated in that country for 160 years, I would say we are very happy with the development, and at the same time, we find it sometimes difficult to qualify India as a global hub for a series of reasons. And I think the capacity of the country to become a global financial hub is there, but needs probably some enhancement or some modification in the way banks globally operate in India. First thing, we have 12,000 people operating in India, and clearly the quality of the workforce, the training is exceptionally good. And we support investment banking activities, market activities, security services activities, cash management, etc., which we believe are very important businesses for the Indian economy. Where I see some challenges to go from that stage to the next one, which could be the global hub concept. The first one is we need more liberalization of the capital market activities. I mean, and I would say probably the most difficult thing for banks to operate in India is that the transferability of the rupee is limited. Which means that it's not a totally open market. I mean, it's a market very controlled, and obviously you cannot be a hub for international needs if the transferability of the currency is not totally proven, and you know that there are limits of duration. We cannot swap currencies above a certain time, etc., etc. Second thing is that the banking regulation in India, which I follow at the group level for 15 years, is a very complex one. You talk to lawyers which are specialized in regulation, and they tell you, yeah, but be careful, there is a regulation coming from Delhi, the local regulation, etc. And having had the opportunity for some acquisition that BNP Paribas made to have visits with the Ministry of Finance cabinet director in Delhi, it's complex. And then some simplification would be welcome, I would say, for foreign investors. After that, when you look at books about what makes a financial hub efficient, communication, quality of the environment is very important. Then I think everything which is data, transfer of data, quality of computer equipment is great. Issuance of visas for people who come to work in India could be a little improved because it's still sometimes a little cumbersome. It's not a major obstacle, but it could fluidify the processes. After that, stable, legal, tax, regulatory environment for people who decide to operate long-term businesses in India is absolutely critical. And I think that's also a way where if India decide to become a financial hub for international companies, including Indian one, which I think is a need, because when I see the tension between the US and China, we'll see a lot of corporates moving some of their businesses out of China to go to India, but they will need support from international groups, financial groups. And for that, there are little things we need to be twisted so that we can operate in a more fluid and agile environment. Otherwise, I mean, the group is very supportive, ready to have discussion with you, Sunit, and the ambassadors and the government whenever to try to make our case that we could do even more in your country for the international needs of our clients. Very happy to be with you and happy to answer any question you may have, Govind Raj.
Right. So first one, you said you were the second bank to come, foreign bank to come into India. So who beat you to it?
The first one was Grindlays.
I thought as much. Okay. Right.
We could have tried at that time that the French would be the first bank in India, first foreign bank, but a British one came just before us.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to come back because I also wanted to get a sense on how you're seeing global capital flows, and and to all panelists, I think we also want to know, where does India stand? I mean, you're all managing global portfolios, so it would be good to know. I mean, what is India competing with in order to? I mean, we may have ambitions, but those ambitions are always in context. Okay, Laure, follow up. Could you go next?
My microphone is on. Thank you very much, Govind Raj. Good afternoon, everybody. Just to introduce myself, I'm Laurent Follop. I'm the Commercial and Marketing Director of AROPA. AROPA means Le Havre, Rouen, and Paris, which is the three ports of the Seine River in the north of France, where I am today. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me again. I'm going to take 6 to 7 minutes, not more, to give you first of all our perception of the Indian market as per our port and economic activity point of view, what we are doing today to support India's development, and what are our future challenges in the world today, in the COVID period that we are facing, everybody. First of all, our perception of the Indian market, according to the international trade that we are managing, is India is a really fast-growing country. India is a member of the G20 with the strongest growth in GDP since more than 10 years now. If I look at the figures, 2014 was +7%, 2015 +8%, etc. So it's really something that it's important for us because it's really fast today. Plus, a global view on a strategic axis on the Make in India policy, which is very important for us. The program has been set up in 2014 by the government, which aims to increase the GDP share of the manufacturing sector to 25% in 2022 and 30% in 2040. This program targets 25 very strategic sectors, very interesting for us, of course, mainly textile, foods, machine tools, transportation, electronic and defense, for example, in which India has really a competitive advantage today. I can also give the example of healthcare industry, pharmaceutical industry, and also information technology. The policy is explicitly aimed at promoting investment in the manufacturing sector, on making India a real hub for regional and international markets. To do this, India already has some very important and main advantage. A very competitive and qualified workforce, of course, but above all, the entrepreneurial structure are composed of large groups today. If I take the example of Reliance, Tata, for example, which is also big group for us, and more than 50 million Indian subcontracted companies. Based on this overall strategy, we are really focused ourselves on some strategic sector to continue to promote our business and to continue to have exchange between India and Europe going through France. The first one is textile and garments, which is a very important sector for us. On our export side, looking at the potential of the Indian garment market, more and more international brands are entering today the market, not only the main one that we know already, like the French luxury products like Chanel, Louis Vuitton, and the other ones, but also some brands like Lacoste, Celio, and Promode are investing more and more in India today. Second sector, which is very interesting for us, and certainly at this period very sensitive, is the healthcare sector. The pharmaceutical sector. India represents 42% of the world medicine production and export 20% of the world's generic drugs. The country has leaders such as Lupin, Torrent, Cipla, Sitka, but also all the international groups today have some production units or different suppliers in Indian country, like Sanofi, for example, like Boiron or Novartis. It is for our ports today the number 3 in terms of commodity category imported from India in 2019. The third strategic sector for us is energy and chemical. India is the leading exporter of petroleum products in Asia. It is also a very large importer of basic products and raw material because it is because of its important development since many years. The country energy supply will be one of its greatest challenges, and at the same time an opportunity in the transfer to new energy today. Okay, Aropa is also being chosen by a big group that you may know, Siemens Gamesa, to develop a wind farm industry in the port. So change of energy today would be also a key success, and India will be part of it, certainly. So after the general introduction, India is of course a key business partner. I continue to grow with our ports and with Aropa. Just to give you some figures, around more than 30% of for maritime global container traffic on the 10 last years. We have increased more than 30% the volume. 2/3 of this business is on import, of course, from India to France. and our top commodities are textile, clothes, synthetic rubber, and latex. Synthetic rubber, latex for our export. We concentrate our business to Mumbai area, of course, but not only, with an important part of development for the port of Mundra, Zira, and also the region of Tamil Nadu, Chennai, Tuticorin, and also Kolkata, which is a more and more growing port for us. What is important to say is sea freight company, the big ones, for example, like MSC, WOCL, APAC, COSCO, ONE, continue to invest and create new services, fast services between India and Europe. To be able to conclude, how can we continue to support India and what are our new challenges? We continue to have regular missions. This year it's not possible, unfortunately, but we continue to come to India with a meeting with ports, governments, representatives, plus some panel speech on many logistic conferences in order to share our strategy and our initiative on digitalization, for example, sustainable developments as well. Leitmotif is also to support customers, which is important, to become more global, more digital today, and India is really a part of our strategic business for that, and also to become smarter and greener, which is important for the ports today, really smarter and greener. So, and I finish just due to the COVID, we certainly have more things to develop, like logistics today, warehousing activity. We will have more stocks today, and more generally, there is really we will continue to develop and to get great success. So, definitely, yes, India is a global hub for manufacturing with international port of view, for sure.
Right, thank you very much. Mark Pasquet, Michelin, can you go ahead?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Govid. I'm very pleased to be with you today. So I'm Marc Pasquet. I'm the president of Michelin Africa, India, and Middle East. I'm based out of Dubai. As a company, Michelin operates in more than 170 countries, and we are on the entire landscape of mobility. So in India, we go from supplying tires to two-wheelers, passenger cars, truck, buses, up to the Mumbai monorail. And sometime when we will fly back, we'll be also on Michelin tires since we're supplying major aircraft carriers in India. Just to give you an idea, in India, we have close to 3,000 employees. The Indian market is the first two-wheeler market in the world. Just to give you an idea of how big is India, is the fourth biggest car market after Germany, is the fifth biggest aircraft market. When we look at the population of India, the India middle class will soon be bigger than the entire European population. So just to give you also an idea of the potential. And 35% of the Indian population lives in urban area. So when Laurent was talking about ports, we for sure, more goods will be coming. When Mr. Papias, Alain Papias was talking about banking services, it will come as well. So clearly, India has a huge potential because of the size, of course, of the country and the population, but also because it's an evolving population with new needs. We are convinced at Michelin that the mobility needs will evolve in India. And the reason why we came 20 years ago and put a plant in Chennai is because the mobility needs are coming up. All of you that live in India, you see the air quality issues we're facing. We also see a lot of issues in terms of road safety. The reported fatalities per year are close to 150,000 people dying on the roads per year. It's close to 400 people dying every day on the roads of India, and this is reported, so it may be bigger. So clearly, as a company, and since we believe that everything will be sustainable, when we come to India, we want to contribute to a sustainable mobility, but also to a safer mobility. And that's why when we came to India, we came with the latest technology, and we came also with a lot of activities to help people have a safer mobility. This year with Total, we will be training close to 9,000 kids in 110 schools across the country to teach them how to be safer on the roads. Maybe one last reference about India and the sustainability. Just keep in mind that 20% of the fuel you use in your car is coming from the tires. So clearly you can see that the tires can be a huge contributor in terms of improving the air quality of India. So when it comes to India as a hub for manufacturing, we came to India. We are bringing the latest technology. We want to differentiate by the top, so we bring low rolling resistance tires, safer tires. From a business perspective, when we settled our operation in India, I would say that our experience has been pretty good. We set up the operation in Chennai. We have a new operation, digital worldwide hub in Pune. And so far it has been good, even though some infrastructure such as road and electricity could have come on time, that would have really helped. Do we have the ability to, at some point, manufacture from India for outside of India? We do it already. But if we wanted to accelerate that, for sure we would need, and I think Alain was talking about it, we would need maybe a little bit more visibility on some regulation that may come to hit us. We've been impacted in the past. We're impacted currently with some import restriction. We are working with the Indian government. But when you invest for hundreds of millions of euros setting up a new manufacturing plant, you need visibility on regulation that could impact your business. You need visibility and ease of doing business. Progress have been made, but on labor rules. So clearly, there is a way to go, and we're contributing with the Indian government to help ease the way we are doing business in India.
Right, Mark, thank you for that. I'm going to race ahead now. Jean-Marc Bourdin, could you go next, please?
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody.
Yeah, about 3 minutes. We have to wind by about 6:35. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good afternoon to everybody. So as far as Thales is concerned, it's almost 50 years that we are in India with a strong presence. We have 1,800 employees in the country. And we are doing business in the field of defense, transportation. We have made the signaling of Hyderabad Metro. In the aerospace, serving Indigo, for example, and in digital identity and security in India. To the question, can India become a key global market and a global hub? We've already answered. There is an initiative in Thales, which is called Going Global. And at the global level, we have decided that the three main pillars of our industry are going to be US, China, and India. And for that, we have developed several things in India. Especially, we have out of the joint venture that we already have in India, we have a joint venture with Bharat Electronic for radars, another one with Samtel, dedicated to military avionics, and with Reliance Aerostructure for airborne radars and electronic warfare. But on top of that, to enlarge our presence in India, we have a digital and engineering center. One digital center which is in Noida and which is employing 900 engineers. And the main, I would say, asset of India is the highly skilled workforce we can find in India. On top of that, we have built in Bangalore an engineering center which is serving the whole corporation into the areas we are acting: defense, aerospace, again transportation business, and we are planning to grow it, and we hope to reach quite soon 1,200 engineers in India. So to the question again, key global market. Yes, India is a key global market. Global hub. Yes, very good hub, having a lot of resources and valuable resources.
You're on mute,
I don't
Govind.
hear you.
Govind, you're on mute.
I do recall in our conversation earlier, you saying that smart metering was one of your thrust areas and opportunities as well.
Yes. Just to illustrate that it is on one side a big market and on the other side a global player, there is a need for smart metering in India. And according to the size of the population of India, it's certainly the product we are going to develop for the Indian market is going to be certainly the reference at the worldwide level. And smart metering for us is a good example of the way India can be spread all over the world.
Right. Namita, it's over to you. And there's Sumit after that. I'm sorry, it's a long list. So Namita, go ahead. Sorry to keep you guys waiting.
No, not at all. So my name is Namita Shah. I'm on the executive committee of Total, and amongst the many things that I do, I'm also responsible for India and building our relationship with India. So Total doesn't have a very, very long history in India. We've had a long history, but in a very small field, basically in southern India and in LPG and lubricants. And for various reasons, we haven't been able to, to build a big relationship in India, either because traditionally we were in the exploration and production fields, and that was not something where we saw India as having resources to exploit, and also because there's been, this idea in the company for a very long time that it's very difficult to do business in India. In the last 2 years, there's been a big change. So a couple of years ago, we decided to make a big move in India. India is, and it sort of responds to this idea that everybody's talking about India developing, about ease of business in India getting better, about India being a major market, of course, for energy. But as manufacturing grows in India, as individual citizens of India continue to go up in the ladder, energy demands are definitely going to increase. And the second, I think, big trend, which is very important for us, is everything that's going on around us in terms of climate. And also India's very stated, objective that they want to play their role in reducing the impact of and helping in controlling climate change. So a couple of years ago, we came into India in really the LNG and gas and renewables businesses. So that's the area in which we really want to accompany the growth that we're going to be seeing in India. If manufacturing takes off, and I'm confident that it can, there's going to be, of course, a huge need for the industry to think about where they're going to get the reliable energy from, because having reliable energy is a key to be able to have an economically viable industrial model. And coupling that with renewable energy, India is extremely reliant on coal today for many reasons. One of them, of course, being cost, and the other being it's available made in India. But the energy growth is going to be such that they're going to have to look for other sources of energy. And while there's a massive explosion of renewable energy in the country, they're also, I think, going to have to look towards gas as a source to stabilize the energy that comes from renewable energy. And they also have a couple of ideas about being a sort of a hub for the import of LNG, especially in the eastern part of the country, where they're developing LNG import facilities, which can then maybe access the eastern market in places like Bangladesh and Myanmar. So there is definitely a big change, and if I can sort of close the circle, we were talking about capital markets, and India actually, and we actually participated in an investment in a publicly listed company. I can tell you that it took us almost 8 months to figure out and understand the process and get the answers to all our questions and get comfortable with how it was going to happen. With a partner who, who understood that we needed to understand everything, but at the same time kept saying, just trust us, it'll work out. And both of those things are true. So we're looking forward to continuing to accompanying the growth that India is definitely going to see.
Right. So, Sumit, I'm going to come to you. Namita, when can we see Total petrol pumps in the country?
Well, in the partnership that we have with Adani, we have decided that we are going to look at the launch in the retail sector. When we wanted to do it 2 years ago, but it was the regulations were very complicated to get a retail license. They've completely changed the processes, so hopefully that will make it easier. And we're looking at how we can get our brand name out there for sure.
Okay, thanks for that. Sumit, last word.
Yeah, Govind. I think you've got 5 minutes for a hard stop. I want to give it back to you, so I'm going to take a minute if I can. Just a couple of things. India can be a hub as a market and as a manufacturing base for sure. It goes together in a sense. If you invest in the Indian market, you've got to build for India and build for outside India. I think if you look forward for the next 10 years, as India doubles its economy from a $3 trillion economy to a $6 trillion economy, it's a huge amount of money that's going to be consumed and is going to be built in this country. So that's promising. If you look at French investments in India, I got my team at Insight to do some analysis. Out of the SBF 120 companies, only about 80 are in India. And they're doing well. They're about 11 billion euros in sale. They're growing at about 9% a year. They're profitable. But if you go deeper, you realize that 10 companies account for 75% of that. And therefore, the balanced 70 top 80 French companies actually have an average business size in India of only $40 million. So as you can see, there's a lot of catching up to do that French companies have. And there's a huge opportunity going forward. And I think with that, I'll stop so I can leave it back to you to at least ask 1 or 2 more questions.
Right. Thanks for that, Sumit. So let me throw it. It's a broader question. I think one is, we know the context. We're talking about manufacturing, Indian market as a hub, as a destination in itself. So what's the competitive pressure here, and what does India have to think about, and whether it comes to global capital flows, your own priorities in this COVID world? Are we in the globalization, de-globalization tension? Where are we today? And I'm sure all of that matters. So let me throw that first to Alain, and then anyone's welcome to pitch in.
Look, I think the market macroeconomically for the last years has developed pretty well. Obviously, this year, the impact of COVID will have probably generate a negative GDP, which is estimated between -4, -5, with a rebound next year. Then I think the trend is good. After that, the capital flow, I think, has improved significantly. I would say mostly on the equity side. We see more and more private equity firms interested by investing in India, where I think there is still an issue in a way, or a big challenge in terms of financing the Indian economy. Let's put away the global hub, is the fact that Indian individuals are big savers, but part of these savings goes to banks or go and, buy gold. And then the capacity in the country to issue bonds. And clearly, when we have discussion with Indian officials, the biggest challenge of the next 10 years is infrastructure financing, as Mark mentioned. It's a country who needs roads, who needs bridges, who needs new airports, etc. And today, it's almost impossible to finance it privately. Because there is no long-term investors to buy the bonds. And you probably have seen recently some dramas, I would say, in financial markets in India, where people were financing long-term needs, like the listing company, by issuing very short-term bonds, and then there was a couple of them which needed a bail-in with the support of the government. Then I think making sure that the market mechanism and the regulation is done in such a way that long-term savings are privileged and supported by the government, so that you create a very agile financial market, is what the country needs as a priority.
Right. Okay. Mark, a quick word from you. I mean, what is India competing with? I mean, you yourself are sitting in Dubai, you've got a large portfolio, and so does your company as a whole.
Well, I think India is competing with a lot of other markets, where, ease of doing business is at a better position than what we see in India. When you want to set up a tire plant, on average will cost you between 500 million to 700 million euros. So it's like 20, 30 years investment. So when you set up this type of investment, which is what we did 10 years ago, you need to have clear visibility on what's going to be the strategy of the government in terms of regulation. What we've seen today is clearly the government pushing the Make in India, which is great. We support it. But at the same time, the government cannot be in the shoes of the company to decide what should be produced in India. We want to come with high-tech technology. We don't want to do what exists already in India. We want to help the development of India. We are not just do business in India. We want to be part of the development of India. And I think that's the type of discussion we're having currently with the government. We are investing in India to export to the world, latest technology that we do on mobility. So that's our willingness to change, this market.
Right. Namita, are companies and French companies for that matter globalizing like before?
Are French companies globalizing like before? I think successful companies, whether they're French or not, can't afford to not globalize. I mean, I know that we're seeing this trend of, are we going to move away from globalization? But I don't think that that's an option. And I don't think that that's an option that we should be defending at all. I think we need to continue pushing this idea that globalization, we need to first of all deal with the idea that only large companies have benefit from globalization. We need to sort of find a way to communicate on how everybody benefits from it. And we need to continue pushing to say that globalization is the right way forward, because without it, companies won't grow. But I think that countries like India won't grow if globalization doesn't come to them.
Right. Okay. So you're thematically arguing for globalization. Jean-Marc, is that something you agree with? I mean, are companies still in an expansionary mode, particularly now? I mean, given the challenges that they must be facing in domestic markets as well, including in France?
I believe it's the only way to grow. And globalizing is certainly the best vehicle to have this growth. And also from people or employment point of view, I strongly believe that globalization is a plus.
Okay, so there is a clear endorsement for globalization in a general sense. Sumit and Jérôme, so where does this leave India in terms of what it has to do to get even more investment than what it is, apart from what you've already mentioned?
Jérôme, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I think that as far as we can see, India can continue on this way, bringing innovation. Again, I come back on this point because it's a country where we've been able to invent many things that were useful outside of the domestic market. So from our perspective, we just need to take the same level of risk that the one who have been taken 13 years ago. Be confident about the capacity of India to perform even in time of uncertainty, and I'm sure that results will come. I mean, from a single company perspective, but more broadly when we look at that market.
Right. Okay. I think we've Sumit, you've gone dark. Maybe you have a power cut or something in Delhi. So that's as always the energy opportunity in this country. So let me come back. Let me as I wind up. Is Mark around? I just want to ask Mark if you're still there. When are you bringing the Michelin guide to India, which in itself is a indicator of many other good things to come?
Sorry, no, I think that I mean, as far as we can see, India can continue on this way, bringing innovation. Again, I come back on this point because it's a country where you've been able to invent many things that were useful outside of the domestic market. So from our perspective, we just need to take the same level of risk that the one who have been taken 13 years ago. Be confident about the capacity of India to perform even in time of uncertainty, and I'm sure that results will come.
Right. Okay. So you're on mute.
Thank you very much, Govind. Thank you. First of all, I think we need to build a brand. There is not so many people, and you're one of the few that realize that the Michelin tires and the Red Guides are together, the same company. So we're building the brand. We're investing in TV campaigns. I would say that the food scene in India is one of the most amazing and one that is missing, in our guides. So after, you have France, you have, of course, Thailand, you have Japan. We would love to come to India. If you have any contact at the Board of Tourism so we can talk and maybe launch it in the coming years, we would be great. That would be fantastic. And that would be great, and it would make a lot of sense.
Right, and food is always a good note to end on, and the food opportunity. And though we have been talking about manufacturing and India as a global hub, so on that note, I have to leave. Thank you very much for having me to all of you at the IFCCI, and let me hand it back to Sumit, who's reappeared now. And on that note, very good night to all of you.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Thanks, Govind. Sorry about that. The energy challenge in India. Priyank, back to you.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you, everyone, for this excellent discussion. It truly is our pleasure to have you all join us today, creating this digital bridge, so to say, between India and France. As we come to the end of today's program, I would like to invite Mr. Aymeric de Reny, CEO of Crédit Agricole India, to share the official closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much. So from what we just heard, I think we can all value the future of the Indian manufacturing sector is of paramount importance for both French and Indian economies. The Indian manufacturing sector has indeed gone through major transformation held by significant reforms announced by the government in recent times. I will only mention the decision to slash the corporate tax rates of new manufacturing companies down to 17%, which is the lowest in South Asia. Initiatives like the Make in India that we discussed, as well as incentives in specific sectors, are contributing to foster foreign direct investments in the manufacturing sector. And we can see that the level of FDI, as mentioned by Sumit, this level is increasing over the years and is a good indicator of the continuous effort to improve the doing business environment. This, together with the recent good and service tax reform, with the low labor cost, is encouraging foreign companies to relocate their production bases to India. As we discussed, it has a very strong macroeconomic fundamentals, a rise of a large middle class, the growth and demand potential, a very skilled labor, and a political leadership, which makes of this country really unique potential to become in the future a prominent manufacturing hub. Now, on behalf of all IFCCI members, I would like to thank the IFCCI team who organized this wonderful AGM in such a difficult context. Many thanks, Payal, Bruno, and all the team. I think all the members have enjoyed very much this event. I will wind up by thanking also all the speakers and panelists who shared their views and experiences. It was really great to hear about your company's respective journey in this country. Let's hope that next year AGM will not be virtual. It would be nice to see each other. So once again, thank you all, and have a very nice evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Reny. With that, we end today's program and wish everyone a good evening ahead. Please do look forward to our upcoming initiatives, the Defense and Aerospace Seminar, the CSR Conclave, the Indo-French Investment Conclave, and and just keep posted on our website. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
It's not a question of place. It's not a question of temperature.
It's not a question of depth.
Or knowledge.
It's not a question of dedication.
It's not a question of caring.
Or passion.
It's not a question of language. In fact, it's not a question at all.
Energy has to be better.
Safer, cleaner, more efficient,
More innovative.
more accessible,
It's our responsibility.
and our commitment to make it better.
For all of us.
Total, committed to better energy.
हम मानते हैं कि दुनिया को बेहतर बनाने के लिए जरूरी है एक सोच कि दुनिया बेहतरी के रंगों से निखर सकती है। एक सोच कि अच्छाई के रंग हम सब पर खिलते हैं। एक सोच कि ये रंग जब फैलेंगे तो खुद में खुशियां समेट लाएंगे। और इन्हीं बदलाव के रंगों को हम आपसे शेयर करते हैं। उस सोच के साथ जो जाती है हैप्पी रेनबो बॉक्स में।
This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Houston, don't give up until you drink from the silver cup. Houston, and ride that highway in the sky. This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Don't give up until you drink from the silver cup.
Can I help you?
And ride that highway in the sky.
At BNP Paribas, we know that we're stronger when we're well accompanied. This is why we'll always be by your side.
Never know until you try.
Imagine millions of objects, tons of all different kinds of products, changing hands every day all over the world. Objects, all different kinds of products, crossing oceans to arrive at our door in the heart of our towns and cities, or leaving for all four corners of the globe. So, imagine a port capable of processing this amount of merchandise in a completely reliable way. Everyday objects, capital goods, processed food products, energy products, chemicals. Imagine a port playing its part in the functioning of the city by dealing with the delivery of construction materials and disposing of waste. Imagine a simplified organization with hands-on operators. A port recognized for its reliability and the quality of the service it provides, where the safety of the people working there and the security of the goods are assured. Imagine one of the largest industrial centers in the world where high-tech industries can develop with research and innovation. Now, imagine a harbor system directly open to the seas. spread out over 200 kilometers, capable of welcoming thousands of visitors, capable of supplying millions of consumers by river, by rail, by road. A logistical development on an international scale, promoting a clean mode of transport. Imagine a port which generates 160,000 direct and related jobs. A tool that is indispensable to the external trade of France. A port undergoing constant development. Respectful of the environment. Responsible for maintaining quality of life. A major player in its territory. There is no need to imagine any longer. This port exists.
It's not a question of place.
It's not a question of temperature.
It's not a question of depth.
Or knowledge.
It's not a question of dedication.
It's not a question of caring.
Or passion.
It's not a question of language. In fact, it's not a question at all.
Energy has to be better.
Safer, cleaner, more efficient,
More innovative.
more accessible,
It's our responsibility.
And our commitment to make it better.
For all of us.
Total, committed to better energy.
हम मानते हैं कि दुनिया को बेहतर बनाने के लिए जरूरी है एक सोच कि दुनिया बेहतरी के रंगों से निखर सकती है। एक सोच कि अच्छाई के रंग हम सब पर खिलते हैं। एक सोच कि ये रंग जब फैलेंगे तो खुद में खुशियां समेट लाएंगे। और इन्हीं बदलाव के रंगों को हम आपसे शेयर करते हैं। उस सोच के साथ जो जाती है हैप्पी रेनबो बॉक्स में।
This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by.
Houston.
Don't give up until you drink from the silver cup.
Houston.
And ride that highway in the sky. This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Don't give up until you drink from the silver cup.
Can I help you?
And ride that highway in the sky.
At BNP Paribas, we know that we're stronger when we're well accompanied. This is why we'll always be by your side.
Never know until you try.
Imagine. Imagine millions of objects, tons of all different kinds of products, changing hands every day all over the world. Objects, all different kinds of products, crossing oceans to arrive at our door in the heart of our towns and cities, or leaving for all four corners of the globe. So, imagine a port capable of processing this amount of merchandise in a completely reliable way. Everyday objects, capital goods, processed food products, energy products, chemicals. Imagine a port playing its part in the functioning of the city by dealing with the delivery of construction materials and disposing of waste. Imagine a simplified organisation with hands-on operators. A port recognised for its reliability and the quality of the service it provides, where the safety of the people working there and the security of the goods are assured. Imagine one of the largest industrial centres in the world where high-tech industries can develop with research and innovation. Now, imagine a harbour system directly open to the seas, spread out over 200 kilometres, capable of welcoming thousands of visitors, capable of supplying millions of consumers, by river, by rail, by road. A logistical development on an international scale promoting a clean mode of transport. Imagine a port which generates 160,000 direct and related jobs. A tool that is indispensable to the external trade of France. A port undergoing constant development. Respectful of the environment. Responsible for maintaining quality of life. A major player in its territory. There is no need to imagine any longer. This port exists.
It's not a question of place. It's not a question of temperature.
It's not a question of depth.
Or knowledge.
It's not a question of dedication.
It's not a question of caring.
Or passion.
It's not a question of language. In fact, it's not a question at all.
Energy has to be better.
Safer. Cleaner. More efficient.
More innovative.
More accessible.
It's our responsibility.
And our commitment to make it better.
For all of us.
Total, committed to better energy.
हम मानते हैं कि दुनिया को बेहतर बनाने के लिए जरूरी है एक सोच कि दुनिया बेहतरी के रंगों से निखर सकती है। एक सोच कि अच्छाई के रंग हम सब पर खिलते हैं। एक सोच कि ये रंग जब फैलेंगे तो खुद में खुशियां समेट लाएंगे। और इन्हीं बदलाव के रंगों को हम आपसे शेयर करते हैं। उस सोच के साथ जो जाती है हैप्पी रेनबो बॉक्स में।
This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Don't give up until you drink from the silver cup.
Can I help you?
And ride that highway in the sky.
At BNP Paribas, we know that we're stronger when we're well accompanied. This is why we'll always be by your side.
Never know until you try.
Imagine. Imagine millions of objects, tons of all different kinds of products, changing hands every day all over the world. Objects, all different kinds of products, crossing oceans to arrive at our door in the heart of our towns and cities, or leaving for all four corners of the globe. So, imagine a port capable of processing this amount of merchandise in a completely reliable way. Everyday objects, capital goods, processed food products, energy products, chemicals. Imagine a port playing its part in the functioning of the city by dealing with the delivery of construction materials and disposing of waste. Imagine a simplified organisation with hands-on operators. A port recognised for its reliability and the quality of the service it provides, where the safety of the people working there and the security of the goods are assured. Imagine one of the largest industrial centres in the world where high-tech industries can develop with research and innovation. Now, imagine a harbour system directly open to the seas, spread out over 200 kilometres, capable of welcoming thousands of visitors, capable of supplying millions of consumers, by river, by rail, by road. A logistical development on an international scale promoting a clean mode of transport. Imagine a port which generates 160,000 direct and related jobs. A tool that is indispensable to the external trade of France. A port undergoing constant development. Respectful of the environment. Responsible for maintaining quality of life. A major player in its territory. There is no need to imagine any longer. This port exists.
It's not a question of place. It's not a question of temperature.
It's not a question of depth.
Or knowledge.
It's not a question of dedication.
It's not a question of caring.
Or passion.
It's not a question of language.
In fact, it's not a question at all.
Energy has to be better.
Safer. Cleaner. More efficient.
More innovative.
More accessible.
It's our responsibility.
And our commitment to make it better.
For all of us.
Total, committed to better energy.
हम मानते हैं कि दुनिया को बेहतर बनाने के लिए जरूरी है एक सोच। एक सोच कि दुनिया बेहतरी के रंगों से निखर सकती है। एक सोच कि अच्छाई के रंग हम सब पर खिलते हैं। एक सोच कि ये रंग जब फैलेंगे तो खुद में खुशियां समेट लाएंगे। और इन्हीं बदलाव के रंगों को हम आपसे शेयर करते हैं। उस सोच के साथ जो जाती है हैप्पी रेनबो बॉक्स में।
This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Houston, don't give up until you drink from the silver cup. Houston, and ride that highway in the sky. Houston, this is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Don't give up until you drink from the silver cup. Can I help you? And ride that highway in the sky.
At BNP Paribas, we know that we're stronger when we're well accompanied. This is why we'll always be by your side.
Never know until you try.
Imagine. Imagine millions of objects, tons of all different kinds of products, changing hands every day all over the world. Objects, all different kinds of products, crossing oceans to arrive at our door in the heart of our towns and cities, or leaving for all four corners of the globe. So, imagine a port capable of processing this amount of merchandise in a completely reliable way. Everyday objects, capital goods, processed food products, energy products, chemicals. Imagine a port playing its part in the functioning of the city by dealing with the delivery of construction materials and disposing of waste. Imagine a simplified organisation with hands-on operators. A port recognised for its reliability and the quality of the service it provides, where the safety of the people working there and the security of the goods are assured. Imagine one of the largest industrial centres in the world where high-tech industries can develop with research and innovation. Now, imagine a harbour system directly open to the seas, spread out over 200 kilometres, capable of welcoming thousands of visitors, capable of supplying millions of consumers, by river, by rail, by road. A logistical development on an international scale promoting a clean mode of transport. Imagine a port which generates 160,000 direct and related jobs. A tool that is indispensable to the external trade of France. A port undergoing constant development. Respectful of the environment. Responsible for maintaining quality of life. A major player in its territory. There is no need to imagine any longer. This port exists.
It's not a question of place.
It's not a question of temperature.
It's not a question of depth.
Or knowledge.
It's not a question of dedication.
It's not a question of caring.
Or passion.
It's not a question of language.
In fact, it's not a question at all.
Energy has to be better.
Safer. Cleaner. More efficient.
More innovative.
More accessible.
It's our responsibility.
And our commitment to make it better.
For all of us.
Total, committed to better energy.
हम मानते हैं कि दुनिया को बेहतर बनाने के लिए जरूरी है एक सोच। एक सोच कि दुनिया बेहतरी के रंगों से निखर सकती है। एक सोच कि अच्छाई के रंग हम सब पर खिलते हैं। एक सोच कि ये रंग जब फैलेंगे तो खुद में खुशियां समेट लाएंगे। और इन्हीं बदलाव के रंगों को हम आपसे शेयर करते हैं। उस सोच के साथ जो जाती है हैप्पी रेनबो बॉक्स में।
This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Houston, don't give up until you drink from the silver cup. Houston, and ride that highway in the sky. This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Don't give up until you drink from the silver cup. Can I help you? And ride that highway in the sky.
At BNP Paribas, we know that we're stronger when we're well accompanied. This is why we'll always be by your side.
Never know until you try.
Imagine. Imagine millions of objects, tons of all different kinds of products, changing hands every day all over the world. Objects, all different kinds of products, crossing oceans to arrive at our door in the heart of our towns and cities, or leaving for all four corners of the globe. So, imagine a port capable of processing this amount of merchandise in a completely reliable way. Everyday objects, capital goods, processed food products, energy products, chemicals. Imagine a port playing its part in the functioning of the city by dealing with the delivery of construction materials and disposing of waste. Imagine a simplified organisation with hands-on operators. A port recognised for its reliability and the quality of the service it provides, where the safety of the people working there and the security of the goods are assured. Imagine one of the largest industrial centres in the world where high-tech industries can develop with research and innovation. Now, imagine a harbour system directly open to the seas, spread out over 200 kilometres, capable of welcoming thousands of visitors, capable of supplying millions of consumers, by river, by rail, by road. A logistical development on an international scale promoting a clean mode of transport. Imagine a port which generates 160,000 direct and related jobs. A tool that is indispensable to the external trade of France. A port undergoing constant development. Respectful of the environment. Responsible for maintaining quality of life. A major player in its territory. There is no need to imagine any longer. This port exists.
It's not a question of place.
It's not a question of temperature.
It's not a question of depth.
Or knowledge.
It's not a question of dedication.
It's not a question of caring.
Or passion.
It's not a question of language.
In fact, it's not a question at all.
Energy has to be better.
Safer. Cleaner. More efficient.
More innovative.
More accessible.
It's our responsibility.
And our commitment to make it better.
For all of us.
Total, committed to better energy.
हम मानते हैं कि दुनिया को बेहतर बनाने के लिए जरूरी है एक सोच। एक सोच कि दुनिया बेहतरी के रंगों से निखर सकती है। एक सोच कि अच्छाई के रंग हम सब पर खिलते हैं। एक सोच कि ये रंग जब फैलेंगे तो खुद में खुशियां समेट लाएंगे। और इन्हीं बदलाव के रंगों को हम आपसे शेयर करते हैं। उस सोच के साथ जो जाती है हैप्पी रेनबो बॉक्स में।
This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by.
Houston.
Don't give up until you drink from the silver cup.
Houston.
And ride that highway in the sky. This is for all lonely people, thinking that life has passed them by. Don't give up until you drink from the silver cup.
Can I help you?
And ride that highway in the sky.
At BNP Paribas, we know that we're stronger when we're well accompanied. This is why we'll always be by your side.
Never know until you try.
Imagine. Imagine millions of objects, tons of all different kinds of products, changing hands every day all over the world. Objects, all different kinds of products, crossing oceans to arrive at our door in the heart of our towns and cities, or leaving for all four corners of the globe. So, imagine a port capable of processing this amount of merchandise in a completely reliable way, everyday objects, capital goods, processed food products, energy products, chemicals. Imagine a port playing its part in the functioning of the city by dealing with the delivery of construction materials and disposing of waste. Imagine a simplified organisation with hands-on operators. A port recognised for its reliability and the quality of the service it provides, where the safety of the people working there and the security of the goods are assured. Imagine one of the largest industrial centres in the world where high-tech industries can develop with research and innovation. Now, imagine a harbour system directly open to the seas, spread out over 200 kilometres, capable of welcoming thousands of visitors, capable of supplying millions of consumers, by river, by rail, by road. A logistical development on an international scale promoting a clean mode of transport. Imagine a port which generates 160,000 direct and related jobs. A tool that is indispensable to the external trade of France. A port undergoing constant development. Respectful of the environment. Responsible for maintaining quality of life. A major player in its territory. There is no need to imagine any longer. This port exists.
It's not a question of place.
It's not a question of temperature.
It's not a question of depth.
Or knowledge.
It's not a question of dedication.
It's not a question of caring.
Or passion.
It's not a question of language.
In fact, it's not a question at all.
Energy has to be better.
Safer. Cleaner. More efficient.
More innovative.
More accessible.
It's our responsibility.
And our commitment to make it better.
For all of us.
Total, committed to better energy.
हम मानते हैं कि दुनिया को बेहतर बनाने के लिए जरूरी है एक सोच। एक सोच कि दुनिया बेहतरी के रंगों से निखर सकती है। एक सोच कि अच्छाई के रंग हम सब पर खिलते हैं। एक सोच कि ये रंग जब फैलेंगे तो खुद में खुशियां समेट लाएंगे। और इन्हीं बदलाव के रंगों को हम आपसे शेयर करते हैं। उस सोच के साथ जो जाती है हैप्पी रेनबो बॉक्स।